Yeah.
If I was going to be important, I'm going to look important. I don't know why I started like that, but anyway, listen. Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham, and there's the Mike Graham Show sign to prove that you know exactly where you are. There's only one place to be. It's Friday. It's June the 26th. Oh, blimey, it's nearly the end of the month already. It's absolutely extraordinary. In some places, they have a sort of celebration for the last Friday of every month, and we'll be doing a bit of that later on. I can't give you too many more details of that. Because of a couple of complaints that we've had recently, we deliberately started the show late this morning because apparently some people don't like it when we start the show late. I don't call 7:01 late for a show that goes out at 7. Cindy, good morning. Thank you very much for that. But this pedant of the day, and there's quite a lot of them. Will Geddes here, by the way. Very good morning to you, Will.
Morning, Mike.
Looking very fresh-faced. You've had a haircut, haven't
mate,
you?
Haircut,
Yeah.
Ozempic.
It's taken years off you.
Has it?
You look about 35.
I know, bless your heart. We won't say how old I really am,
No,
Mike.
I'm not saying that. No, we're not giving that away.
No.
I need another haircut by the looks of things. It's starting to get a bit sort of lush again, isn't it? It's kind of really sort of out there. Anyway, listen. So I had a complaint from somebody who said, it would help if you started the show on time. To which I said, well, it started at 7:01. So I know that can sometimes be annoying. So today we started at nearly 7:02. Apparently he doesn't like the music.
You know what? I think if people are complaining about it starting late, that's a good sign,
it is
Mike,
a good sign.
because it means people are eager.
They are. Well, because
for your pearls of wisdom.
Normally speaking, there's quite a lot of people waiting to see the show.
I
a couple of
often
thousand
do.
Before it actually starts. So here it is here. We've got 4,500 watching already. We've only been going for a minute.
Awesome.
It's not bad, is it?
Mate.
It's really good. Anyway, listen, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, mate. I've had an interesting week, but we'll bore the viewers later with that.
Okay, now that sounds intriguing. See, when Will Geddes says he's had an interesting week, that usually means there's some pretty interesting stuff. Do you know who we had in the show this week? We've had a great week. We had Liz Truss in on Wednesday for a good sort of half hour, 40 minutes, and she was brilliant.
I like Liz Truss, actually,
And she talks a lot of sense,
She's
by
the
the way.
only voice of somewhat common sense.
A lot of sense. And then yesterday, Pat Cash, the tennis player, came in.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not joking.
Really?
Should we play? Have you got the clip? You know the bit where he throws me the headband?
Just get that.
At the beginning. We should get that because I'd like to play that to Will.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
But he was brilliant because, of course, not only was
nice?
he really nice, and not only was he a fantastic tennis player, but he also got involved in the whole COVID business. Do you remember? Because he was like one of the people questioning at the very beginning
the vaccines and stuff,
and what are we doing this for? And he was like, I'm an athlete. And he said one of the things, because he was one of the first sort of proper tennis player athlete types to get really involved in his nutrition and what he was putting into his body and how he was maximising his physicality and all that. And he said, I'm not putting something in my body if I don't know what's in it.
It's got no efficacy.
Yeah, and he said every time I asked what was in it, they wouldn't tell me. And he was like, well, in that case, but he was shunned. He lost sponsorships. He lost a lot of money.
The whole time was mad.
Over the course. Yeah, and he said to me yesterday, he said, I'm getting PTSD just thinking about something, Will looking fine this morning.
Thank you, Leah.
With a kiss. You'll never be short of attention, will you?
Oh, I will be, man. I will be, don't you worry. I'm grateful for the small crumbs I get, Mike.
He's being far too modest.
Started watching late, Mike. We should have a go at the people who started watching late.
Yeah, I started watching at 7:03.
How dare they?
Wow.
How dare they?
You missed at least a minute of the show. You missed me actually not apologising for starting it late. That's what you missed.
The irony.
Now, because it's Friday, we'll have a bit of a different feel today. We've got a really interesting lineup for you. Annunziata Rees-Mogg. Bernie Spofforth is here, which I'm really looking forward to. She's written a new book all about, she's the businesswoman who was locked up, or not locked up, was arrested by the cops during the aftermath of Southport. And she was arrested for allegedly some tweet or other that she put out, which was caused misinformation. And so this whole kind of dystopian nightmare began. And so she's got some really interesting things to say, but not just about that, but about the way that we are being kind of stewarded around these days. Like there's a sign over there that says, don't turn left. Sign over there that says, keep right. Sign over there that says, don't look at anybody. Sign over here saying, don't abuse the staff. It's all of that. There's all of this kind of, sense that we're being told how to live our lives.
And you know what? This is why people like yourself, Mike, and you especially are going to thrive. It's because nobody is beginning to trust or continuing to trust the MSM.
No.
I mean, one of the things that I'll be talking about later in the show will be obviously about the BBC and their skewed vision.
Oh, my God.
Directing
Just
the viewers
ridiculous.
in certain directions.
Yeah.
But it also plays into this week for me, the weirdness that's happened.
Well, the whole Heatwave thing.
Well, no, there's the Colin story, which I don't know whether you've been across at all.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so if any Australians who are watching, and I know you do have a good contingent from Australia. So Colin, who was one of the leads on the Today programme, the breakfast show on Channel 9 in Australia, absolutely huge anchor.
Right.
I've been on the show quite a few times for some mad reason. They keep inviting me back on.
Right.
But Carl's become a bit of a friend, and he's over here in the UK.
Oh, he's the guy that you put me on to who I was going to go on
Correct.
his podcast. Yeah, we couldn't figure out a time.
I know, I tried to get you in there, but Carl interviewed me on Monday, and then on the same day, just after me, he interviewed Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
Channel 9 has, for his own personal podcast, they have now cancelled his contract.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
So the whole freedom of speech thing.
Really?
Absolutely not. So they've cancelled his contract.
Wow.
And Carl is almost like deja vu of you, of like, right, I'm going my own route, I'm going to do my own channel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good luck to you, mate. You're going to do so much better.
Yeah, definitely. Is he still here, by the way?
He's still here, I think.
Because I was
till
speaking to his
next
producer
week.
the other day, because as I say, we were trying to figure out a time I could go on his podcast. Maybe we should get him in
You
here
know
next
what?
week.
You should get him in here, because I
Yeah.
think you guys have got fantastic parallels to your own experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we'll do all that.
Yeah.
But also the other thing that's happened this week, as you know, is we've been bombarded with all this cobblers about the heatwave.
I love it,
and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I was out yesterday in Borough Market. And I walked into this bar and I said to the guy, he said, do you want to sit inside or outside? I said, I want to sit outside, in the shade, mind you, but just because I love it. I said, it's really nice. I was wearing shorts and a Hawaiian shirt because, it's what you do. And
now, ladies, calm down.
Met a couple of old mates from the other place. And it was just tremendous. But, every time you put on the TV, there's some idiot saying something like, an elderly man died by drowning as a result of the heat wave. And you go, no, he didn't die as a result of the heat wave. He died because he drowned, because he went into the water and he got into some kind of difficulty. It's nothing to do with the heat wave.
Doesn't it sound awfully like COVID?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, everything. And I'm looking at the front page of the Times here, and they've got this picture here of the Peak District blaze, right? Firefighters last night tried to bring under control a fire across 500 square metres of Tint Whistle Moor in Derbyshire on Britain's hottest June day, right? Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that they will say this is a wildfire. Do you remember last time we had a bit of a heat wave?
Of course.
And they were actually warning about wildfires, right? And then, of course, it turns out that all of the fires that started
were little scroats.
Were set by somebody.
Yeah.
Because they don't, despite whatever they may tell you, very unusual for fires to spontaneously begin, right?
Exactly.
It usually starts because somebody's put a match to it, right? So the British temperature record for June was broken for a second day in a row yesterday when 36.7 degrees was recorded in Somerset. And, the media's just been full of all of this crap about, how we're all going to die, and if we don't start, taking measures against the heat waves, we're going to have to change the way we live. As long as you don't get an air conditioning machine, of course, you're not allowed to do that.
That will kill the environment, Mike.
But to which I still haven't had an answer to this question, right? If all of the measures we've taken for the last, say, 30 years, let's be generous.
Yeah.
For the last 30 years, we have been supposedly, doing things to help the climate, supposedly doing things to stop us from overheating, doing things to stop global warming, climate change, all of that. Well, clearly none of it's worked, has it?
No.
Because it's now getting hotter anyway. So we might as well stop doing it, mightn't we?
Exactly.
I mean, that's my logic. Get in your Maserati and drive around the one-way system as fast as you can.
As fast as you can.
Right.
But keep it in race mode. Yep.
Spontaneous combustion temperature of wood is 300 degrees.
Don't think we've
That's
quite hit that
fantastic.
yet, Pooch, have we?
I mean, it's been a bit warm in the Peak District. What's the temperature?
The surface of Mercury.
320 degrees. I mean, give me a small break. It is ridiculous.
Hottest
Absolutely
June
mad.
record is broken twice in a day, Mike.
Now, the other
Slow
big
news
story
week.
of the day, and I'm going to be very careful about how I read this to you, because I don't want to get too emotionally involved in the story.
All right, I'll try.
But apparently, there's a pea crisis coming, right? And it's not that kind of peeing.
all right.
No, it's not what we
Can
were
we
talking about
define
earlier.
pea, please?
No, it's not that. It's the vegetable peas.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, so we've got a poll, right? Peas are apparently scarce. They're going to be scarce this year, right? Because according to farmers, they're maturing.
Help me with a poll.
Right. So peas are apparently scarce this year. What would you miss most? Peas, pak choi, kale, or fennel.
Fennel's losing.
Do you know what? I had a recipe that required fennel, and what a waste of time fennel is. Yeah. It's a complete waste of time.
It is.
It doesn't taste anything.
It's like eating straw, isn't it?
Yeah, but also it's really hard to prepare.
It's a bit like kale.
Yeah, kale is just like a greens, isn't it?
It's just chewy as hell.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to eat leaves off a tree, that's what I'd do. I wouldn't bother buying them in a supermarket, Pak choi, I like to eat in a restaurant.
I like a bit of pak choi.
But I've never cooked with it. I've never actually cooked it, though.
Haven't you? Oh, we cook it a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Pooch's a bit of a dab hand in the kitchen.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Well, amongst the many
I think we need to have a cook-off, Pooch. I like to cook.
Careful how you say that. But anyway, so according to...
Friday's going to be one of those days, isn't it,
according to the Telegraph, farmers across Britain are scrambling to salvage this year's pea harvest as the stifling heatwave puts extreme pressure on crops. Right? Do you like peas?
I love peas, mate.
Well,
I love a frozen pea. I'm a child of the 70s.
No,
I'm a child of the 70s.
Frozen peas are the only peas to eat.
The only ones you should have.
Why would you eat anything else?
And if it ain't got bird's eye on the cover...
I'll tell you what you can't eat, though, because this is absolutely... what's that word that they use in Italy? It's not omerta, but it's something like that, It's an absolute... Affirmia. Is it affirmia? They use it in The Godfather.
I can't remember.
It's something that you mustn't do anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an infirmia, I think it is.
Okay.
And is tinned peas.
Oh, disgusting.
No, you can't have those.
There's something wrong with that.
Mushy peas are all right.
No, tin peas are...
No, mushy peas are rotten too.
Yeah, but they're not good though. They're not in a good way. They're just too soft.
Yeah.
Whereas frozen peas...
And broad beans. That's the work of the devil.
Broad beans, I'm not so sure.
No, you're right, Will.
Yeah,
revolting.
So anyway, there's a bit of a vegetable theme going on.
How do you cook peas, Will?
How do I cook them? I boil them, mate.
Boil them?
Yeah.
This is already my favourite show of the week.
I put them in a bowl and pour boiling water over them.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes and they're done.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, you can do that.
You can do that.
Is that straight out the freezer though?
Yeah.
If I'm making shepherd's pie,
yeah,
I put them straight into the shepherd's pie.
Yeah, nice.
Right,
gotta have them in shepherd's pie.
And when I put them in just before I put it in the oven. So when it's on the top of the stove, and it's pretty much cooked.
Turning into the Mike Graham cookery show.
This is great.
So do you make shepherd's pie or cottage pie?
I make both. It depends, but I call it shepherd's pie no matter what it is.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm with that.
There are pedants.
I think there's a bit of snobbery in there, isn't there?
I used to put a lot of food pictures out. And I'd go, this is...
is that a euphemism or something?
No, I did. Because, in fact, during COVID, I did a podcast where I recorded myself in the kitchen cooking.
I think I remember
It went really well. People loved it. It got into the it got number one in the charts at one point.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. And because you could hear that, because I would deliberately make the sound of onions frying, and you'd hear me chopping things, and I'd be.
You just overlaid the track, didn't you?
No, I was actually recording. I had the iPhone in the cupboard, with the door open, in the little kitchen I had, and it was really good. And then, but these pedants would go, "It's not shepherd's pie, it's cottage pie. If you haven't made it with lamb." I'm like, like the guy that said we, didn't like us starting a minute late. It's just forget about it.
Birds in the background. When you were doing your Ask Ziggy, they can hear birds in the background.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah. We had to change the way that we record. I do an Ask Mike and Ziggy on a Sunday afternoon, usually in the garden.
What does Ziggy contribute? I mean, I've met Ziggy.
He's a very thoughtful dog.
He is thoughtful.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah. He is eye candy.
And he just looks good, basically.
He looks great.
And so he sits there, and I have.
How's he coping in the heat wave?
He doesn't like it.
No.
It's too hot for him.
No, it's a bit like Lord Waffle and Mussolini.
Yeah, no, I'm not keen.
Yeah.
But also he doesn't like it because he can't really go out, because you can't take him out.
Well, he doesn't like to go out much anyway. Last time I came round to your gaff, Ziggy was somewhat static.
He's not very energetic. No, I mean we had a pooch. Well, actually we haven't done it yet, but there will be a pooch's pooch coming up where there's two kinds of Labradors, right? The kind that just run all the time, crazy, jumping into the water, jumping up, and then the other one that just sort of stands there. He's the one that stands there. But yeah, so the pea harvest, we've got a lot of action on this. I love mushy peas with a sprinkle of mint sauce, says Tony. That's good.
Okay.
Mushy peas and mint sauce, yes, with cockles, says Twiggy.
No, he's ruined it now.
That's interesting.
Ruined it now.
See, I've never thought of that. Although, I'll tell you what, fish and chips with peas is nice.
Well, fish and chips with mushy peas.
No, well, you can have mushy peas, but you can also have regular peas, like frozen peas.
If you're a psychopath.
I agree, Pooch. I agree.
Yeah.
It's mushy peas only. Yeah. Come on. It's the god. It's.
Don't argue with Will.
Have you ever been to one of those posh restaurants though, where they give you the peas and then they give you a bit of what do you call it, bone marrow, and you make your own mushy peas.
No.
And you mix it up. No?
That's called my kitchen. I'm not paying for that nonsense.
No,
it's like those restaurants where they have the hot plate. They say cook your own steak. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I've come here for you to cook it.
Yeah, I know.
What about when they call normal peas garden peas? Would you like garden or mushy peas?
Where else do they come from then?
I know.
Well, I suppose that's to delineate them between mushy and garden.
Peas or mushy peas?
Yeah, I suppose. Meow Moog says, I like butter beans, actually. I always forget about them.
Really?
Okay.
There you go. I've reminded you, and
Brian,
now you
here
can
we
enjoy
go.
them.
Brian said, isn't shepherd's pie with lamb and cottage pie with beef? Yes.
Yes.
That's what we were saying. Bring back Heinz curry beans. No.
Mike, why don't we do merch? Mike Graham peas.
Mike Graham peas.
We do peas.
Oh, how about this? Bam Bam. This is a super chat. This is great.
No,
we'll get to the news in a minute.
I'll look it up.
Can't beat a tin of marrow fat peas.
Yeah, nice.
What?
Well, marrow fat
I haven't
peas.
even had those. They're nice.
I think
they're
they're
good.
a bit like what I was just describing, where they're
fat peas
with some bone marrow, and you can mix it up yourself. I think that's what they are.
They are.
I can feel my arteries hardening just thinking about it.
Super chat from Cindy there.
Oh yeah, super chat from Cindy. Mike, I just wanted to wish you a lovely show. Thank you for being in the world. Thank you.
Oh
Cindy.
man, we got Kinsey Schofield here.
That's very kind.
Great.
Kinsey. Oh, what? She's on the. Is she?
There you go.
That's exciting.
She's in the war room.
We talked about mushy peas.
Yeah.
Perfect.
How about what else we got? I buy organic peas in the pod, says L565.
She's asking what time, Pooch?
Marrow fat peas.
Now.
Yeah, now is good.
You message her?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I've got a
she's
message
there.
from her as well.
Ah, it's the beautiful girl herself.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. Look. Kinsey Schofield, very good morning. You've brightened up our Friday already. What a brilliant thing to see. How are you?
I wanted it on the peas chat. I love peas.
Do you?
Really?
Yeah. What about mushy peas? Have you had those?
I love mushy peas, but it's when it gets hot here in LA, because if you live closer to the beach, there's no AC, there's no air conditioning. I buy a ton of frozen bags of peas and I sleep on them. So
Really? That's good.
I cuddle with my peas. I eat my peas. I'm a huge pea fan.
Cuddle with the peas.
There's nothing wrong with what do you call it? Multifaceted pea.
Yes, multi-usage peas.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I once was playing football and I broke my wrist and went over on it. And the woman in the five-a-side football place said, "What you need to do is go home and put a pack of frozen peas on it." So I tried that, and it didn't work actually, because I had to go to the hospital instead because it was quite a bad break.
Do you think peas are popular in America?
Peas, yeah, I would say peas are not particularly popular in America, are they?
They're not. I think that it's your influence on me.
It's a kind of English thing, isn't it? Peas.
It's very much an English thing.
It is. Why are you laughing?
This conversation is going so surreal.
It is strange. I mean, we haven't done any news yet, because we said, wouldn't it be great to get Kinsey on? Because all the front pages have got all stuff about the royal family, and the Buckingham Palace is not going to be lived in anymore. And King Charles telling us how much money he's paid in tax. It's quite a big deal, and we didn't have any kind of wherewithal to get somebody on who would be able to tell us what it was all about. And suddenly Will said, "Well, what about Kinsey?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." So,
And here
what's
I
it
am.
all about?
There's only one royal expert, Mike.
There is only one royal expert.
There is only one.
And there's only one royal expert I care about, and that is Kinsey Schofield, obviously.
Well, thank you.
So what's going on here? Why suddenly the royals opened up the books, if you like, to tell us all about how much they've got and what they're going to do with it?
I think that that's an attempt at more transparency. I mean, I have seen people still critical of them for this. They're not paying enough, or they want more information about what the royals' finances are. I think it's a step in the right direction. I appreciate the fact that they're sharing this information with us. And I think that I am surprised by the amount of money that they do pay. I honestly thought it would be a little bit less than they pay. I'm relieved, I guess. They live a very unrealistic life. Once you accept that,
broke my wrist and went over on it, and the woman.
Once you accept that they live a very unrealistic life and that we can't really relate to it, I think it's hard. It's easier to digest this information. But the big news, really, which kind of surprises me, is that there are no plans for a royal to live in Buckingham Palace in the near future.
Yeah.
Not King Charles, not Prince William, and I understand that Queen Elizabeth had no desire to live in Buckingham Palace either. She was devastated to leave her home. It was Churchill Churchill that encouraged her to use this iconic building as her family's home because he felt like it would send an incredible message to the world, because it is such a beautiful building. It's my favorite thing to see when I'm in a taxi or on a bus when I'm in London. I'm like, there she is. But for me, as a commoner, I love the idea of having more access to it, getting to tour it more often, and it will still be used as the Royals' headquarters. They will still entertain presidents there and entertain world leaders there and do important work there. They're just not going to sleep in there at night, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. I suppose they'll still have garden parties, and because that's one of the things that they do very well, which is a nice way of thanking various different people for doing good works and getting sort of the privilege of walking into the main doors and going into the gardens and all the rest of it. But yeah, I suppose, because I remember, I don't know what it's going to look like now that it's been refurbished, because they've spent 300 million quid on it. Because I remember back to the days when you were probably a child, but when I worked for the Daily Mirror and Piers Morgan was there, and we got Ryan Parry inside the building as a footman. And I don't know if you remember, it was when just before George Bush came to stay, and it looked really shabby, and it was really extraordinary how bad the design of what was going on inside was, and there was like horrible little electric fires, and the famous Tupperware where they put the cereal in and all that kind of thing. And I remember just thinking, that's not a good look. You can't live there. It just doesn't look like a very nice place to live.
Yeah, the Tupperware's I still tell people the Tupperware story. I didn't realize you were to blame for that. So congratulations and shame on you all at the same time, Mike Graham. Yeah, so you got this guy in who noticed that the Queen was having breakfast every morning with Tupperware. She wasn't using what you would expect her to be using. And I think that we still use that story today as an example of, her humility and just how down to earth she could be behind the scenes and when she needed to be, and how important that mystique was, where we would just imagine that, of course, she was having breakfast in a fur coat. That was Princess Margaret. That was probably Princess Margaret.
Yeah, and nothing else underneath either, by the way.
Exactly. And so that's very funny. I didn't realize that you had a part in that. That's one of my favorite stories, like that infiltration of the royal family through that footman, and the information that came out of it.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was really, really. I always remember watching the day that George Bush was there, and they were all and there was Ryan on the back of the royal carriage as a footman, just holding it, and we were like, "There he is!"
That's a huge one of those security concern, by the way, for the United States president.
Yeah, it was one of those things where somebody came up with this idea in a meeting and went, "Why don't we try and get somebody into the royal household?" And everyone went, "Nah, you won't be able to do that." And it was so easy. It was ridiculous, It was just ridiculous. There was a pub. I don't know if you know Victoria, but there's a pub in the inside. You'll probably know the pub. It's in the one-way system, and it's kind of inside the one-way system. And it's where all the guys from the royal household drink. And basically, that was how it started. We just sent him in there and got talking to some people. And he's like, "Oh, do you fancy working here?" And they told him how to apply. And suddenly he was inside the fence. It was incredible. So where are they going to live then? Is it going to be Windsor for William and Kate? And is it going to be Clarence House for Charles, I guess?
It is. That's exactly the situation. Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, have found their forever home in Windsor. And it's my understanding, I probably shouldn't repeat this, but that there's a huge relief that Andrew's gone. That they're not going to have to engage with him going forward, because they do want that to be a sanctuary for their family. We know now that Prince George is going to Eton, so he's not going to be very far from his mom and dad, which is a relief to them. But it's my understanding that they're very down to earth. They go to church. They sit with the rest of they sit with everybody. They don't sit in a special section dedicated to the royal family at church, and that is a little community that they absolutely have fallen in love with. And Clarence House has been a comforting space for King Charles and Queen Camilla for a while now. He's ill and he's working his butt off. I understand him wanting to stay exactly where he is, and that being his favorite place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Charlotte's telling us she's got the footman clip. Should we play it just for Kinsey? Let's have a look.
Palace phoned. The barmaid apparently on the phone yells out to the pub, "Does anyone know this Ryan Parry bloke?" And a regular who was sitting at the bar said, "Oh, I know him. I know that Ryan Parry. Oh, I know him. He's a good bloke." And on that basis, the personnel of the royal household employed him.
Keeping the palaces safe and secure is of paramount importance. In 1982, Michael Fagin's intrusion into the Queen's bedroom revealed the cracks in Buckingham Palace's defences. 20 years later...
Does anyone know this Ryan Parry bloke? And a regular who was sitting at the bar said, "Oh, I know him, I know that."
And he took photographs.
Parry's unlimited access to the palace even coincided with a presidential visit by George W. Bush.
There is no state visit more important or, frankly, more crawling with security than an American president visit to the Queen of the United Kingdom. And Parry had all of the details of the visit. It was shocking.
He could have been someone who was looking to kidnap and hold ransom for financial gain.
At the palace, amid some of the tightest security London had ever seen, Parry
Anyway, there we are. Amazing, wasn't it?
Well, you've got a security expert right there that could also.
I know.
I got an insight. I got a story for you about this.
I was about to say, Will. You know, that seems almost impossible to have been able to happen, isn't it?
No, it's not, surprisingly. But I can tell you that your little operation brought about a significant change that I know of. So one of the things that is done on a lot of major sites like the MOD, Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace now, is what they call red cell testing, which is penetration testing, which is where a team will try and get into a location without authority and see how far they can get. And I know that goes on to this day as a result of what you did.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just me. I'm not saying it was all down to me. It wasn't. But I mean, it was part of our organisation's thing. But yeah, we just couldn't quite believe it.
I think you should take full credit for penetration testing, Mike.
Well, listen, it's a bit early for that kind of talk, but you know, I don't mind giving it a go. We'll see how that turns out for everybody. But yeah, listen. So public funding. It's funny, when I heard this on the radio this morning, I thought to myself, you know, there will come a point, I think, when the conversation gets had, and you never know if it's going to be Andy Burnham or some other socialist maniacal leader, where they talk about maybe less public funding for the royals and less, you know, and yet smaller even, you know, numbers of people being paid by the state.
I mean, I look at what's currently going on with your prime minister, your former prime minister, your new prime minister, and I think, thank God for the British royal family. Thank God for that consistency, that stability. You know exactly who you're going to get when you look up on the balcony during Trooping the Colour. You know what's to come. And gosh, I shouldn't have said that during the penetrating test, right as I said.
No, I started it, Kinsey. Don't worry, I started it.
That's going to end up somewhere on the internet. But I have a theory that I think I've told you about, and it's that this Project Thaw idea, bringing Prince Harry back into the fold, I don't believe that it's I don't think that it's King Charles conspiring with Prince Harry. I think it's the Labour government conspiring with Prince Harry.
Really?
It was Yvette Cooper that consulted Prince Harry about his Ukraine speech right before King Charles landed in D.C., and his D.C. speech sounded suspiciously like Harry's speech, minus the attacks on Putin and President Trump. And then we have the anti-Semitism article that Harry wrote, and then we saw King Charles show up at a similar event a few days later. And my theory is that the Labour government secretly loathes the British royal family, unlike the Tory. The Tory party is like notorious for loving that tradition, that history, seeing its value, when the Labour Party has really just been like, you're a waste of taxpayers' dollars. We don't like you. And I think ultimately it would be the Labour Party trying to bring down the royal family and bringing Prince Harry back. So, yeah, I can see the Labour government saying we want to stop you, because the Labour government is, as far as I understand it, they don't really see the value of the British royal family. But I look at the chaos inside the government right now in the UK, and I do see the royal family's value.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're completely spot on there. I think that's a very good point. Listen, great to see you, and we wish you a very lovely weekend as we the penetrator. Listen, I'm never going to live this down now. This is unbelievable.
See, I love to come in, drop a hand grenade.
Thank you very much, Will, for that. Leading penetrator. So what a word. Anyway, so listen, have a wonderful weekend. So I don't even want to say anything more about penetration because it'll just go horribly wrong. But lovely to see you, looking beautiful, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Apparently, there's no Substack out there at the moment.
It's my error completely.
Is it Pooch has made a mistake?
Yeah, I made a mistake.
That's
he never
not fair.
makes mistakes.
Listen, we were having so much fun with the P chat. We forgot. Can you put it out now or not?
No, I can't.
We have to do it at the end.
Pea and ham soup.
Pea and ham soup.
Oh,
I love.
I like that.
I love pea and ham
love
soup.
that. That's
especially
nice.
homemade.
I like pea soup. Just pea soup.
Yeah. Pea soup is good as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, sorry about that. If you're watching YouTube and you would normally be watching on Substack, we apologise. Pooch has got a million things that he has to do every morning, and occasionally something slips through the net. So we're very sorry about that. Any other stories we need to talk about?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, to be honest, the World Cup, there's nothing interesting really happening.
I was saying to Pooch
this
morning, I watched the Germany game, or started watching it. It was so boring last night. I've sort of reached kind of peak World Cup at the moment. I'm kind of like...
I think people are going to switch off until it gets to the semis.
I'm losing interest.
Exactly. No, I agree with you entirely.
What about Labour to free killers and rapists?
Yeah,
on the
you see,
front
this
page?
is something I'm going to talk about later. But David Lammy, please deliver us from this evil.
Yeah.
He is now Labour. What Labour are doing is rather than actually building more prisons, and you know what? I've got 1,000 ideas of how to incarcerate more villains, and especially the ones that they're thinking about releasing. So there are many of these guys responsible or incarcerated for rape, for murder, who are going to be serving less than half their sentence. So, I mean, it makes a mockery of the judicial system.
It does.
That literally Labour is now going, because we're overcrowded, because we don't have any room, I'll tell you what, we've got no money to build more prisons, but we certainly do to rent more hotels for asylum seekers.
Oh yeah, that's another good story. To talk about.
Exactly.
Because in fact, we've got a clip on that. We play Lindsay Hoyle's not happy, and I'm quite pleased to see that he's not happy because it seems as though the Labour government neglected to tell anyone in Parliament, first of all, that they were going to open up more army camps, effectively, for these asylum seekers, right? Because they haven't told anyone where they're going to be. So let's have a look.
My understanding is that the Home Office are due tonight to announce 12 new asylum seeker centres across the country with no statement to the House, with no notification for those of us who are here, and I know that this is a very, very important issue to our constituents. I seek your guidance on how we might encourage the government to release this sort of information here first so that we can scrutinise it on behalf of the people that we represent here in this place.
Can I say, if that is the case, it is totally unacceptable once again. This government doesn't seem to understand that MPs of all sides should hear any news first, as it is their constituents that are affected. And if it's true it was going to a WMS on Monday, that is also doubly unacceptable. What I would say to the Minister is, there's going to release this information. We have between now and the end, and I am more than willing to extend that he can come to this House to inform this House on whose constituencies are going to be affected. It is unfair, it is unacceptable. When will they get the message? There is going to be a change of government. Well, I hope they'll learn in the next people who take over. I don't want to continue a debate down here.
Best interest of the people of those constituencies at heart, because if you are suddenly going to find yourself in a, like the people in Weatherfield did, like the people in Crowborough did, I don't know what's happened in those two places because I haven't seen any demos lately. But I presume that the migrants are still there.
I think a lot of those demos have been suppressed, Mike. I think the problem is a lot of the kind, gentle, law-abiding people who live in those areas are probably too fearful about losing their jobs, being covered obviously on social media, attending these marches, and even being arrested. So,
Shocking. Anyway, Will, listen, I know you're going to hang around for a bit, so please do, that would be great. We've got all sorts of goodies coming up over the course of the next couple of hours, including Colin Sutton, who's coming up next. He's going to be, I think he's put himself up as the Reform crime commissioner, effectively. But we'll talk to him about this story about these people being freed from prison. But first up, we've got some news. Is it Fiona McLeod today? Fiona McLeod, up you go.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Sorry. It's all going wrong today, isn't it?
It's because
blame it on the heatwave.
It's all the peas that we were talking about.
The peas. Can we go to Colin?
Yeah, just go to Colin. We haven't got news. Never mind. We've done the news anyway.
Yeah.
Colin Sutton is here. Colin, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Mike.
Good to see you. Welcome to the Mike Graham Show. So, we were just talking about this story on the front page of the Daily Mail. Labour to free waves of killers and rapists early, and put together with this news of the new, possibly 12, as many as 12 migrant camps being set up by the government without really giving anybody information about where they're all going to be. You know, it's going to be another nightmare summer, isn't it?
Yeah, I think certainly last night I went to bed having heard that there were going to be 3 of these camps and there were locations given for them. And one of them is pretty close to where I live. It's just over the border into Suffolk. And it's, you know, I would be absolutely amazed if the local residents in these places, just the ordinary local residents, are not up in arms about this and make their voices heard. It's I can talk about the one if the Barn camp in Suffolk is going to be one of them. It's 2 miles south of the town centre of Thetford. Between that camp and Thetford town centre is a school. South of the camp is the village, which is a lovely, pretty Suffolk village. And I know I've spoken to many people around Essex, around Wethersfield, and the issue is not so much that the camps are being used for these purposes. It's the fact that the inhabitants of the camp are bussed out into the local towns and spend all day there, and are causing real problems for the shops, for the businesses, particularly for women who feel frightened picking their kids up from school and so forth. And you know, I think people might take to this more kindly if the camps were closed, weren't open. You know,
yes. I mean, if they were secure, if they were sort of effectively secure units, that would be fine, because you know then they would be forced to stay inside a perimeter fence, and I think people wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, I mean they're human beings. They have to live somewhere, and we have to take care of them on a basic level. But it doesn't mean we have to give them everything we're giving and bust them into towns where and we don't know who they are. We have absolutely no idea who these people are, what they've done, where they've come from, what their background is, what their history is, what their mindset is, what their ideologies are. You know, they're unknowns. They're complete unknowns that we're importing into the middle. Another one suggested was Linton-on-Ouse. I do know that. It's a tiny place up near York, up in Yorkshire. It's just going to change the character of those places beyond recognition. And if I lived in a village that was close to one of these, I'd be angry about it, and I think people will be angry.
They will. And what I mean, have those demonstrations effectively kind of stopped, like down in Crowborough and in Weatherfield, where particularly there were quite large demonstrations going on?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I've certainly not seen anything in the news recently about them. We know down at Crowborough what happened was that they effectively did it by sleight, didn't they? They buzzed them in at about 3 a.m. when nobody was about, when nobody could see. So, that tells its own story, really, doesn't it? Because you don't have to do that unless you know that what you're doing is going to cause upset and going to cause protest.
And that is the problem as well, because it's kind of open-ended, right? Because not only have they not told Parliament, as you say, you've discovered that there may be 2 or 3 places that you know of, but there's another 9 that we don't know of, and they haven't told Parliament, and they haven't told the local communities. And the problem is, if you live in those communities, you don't know how long it goes on for. How long are they moving people in for? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? who knows?
But that's the other issue, is the fact that the system is so slow and so cumbersome. And the danger there is that in order to try and say, oh, look, we've cut the queue, cut the waiting list, then what happens is then just at the stroke of a pen, everybody's waved through and ticked and said, yes, you can stay. And we still don't know any more about them or who they are. And then we're saying, yes, you can come in and stay. So it's the whole thing, as we know, and has been for some time, a complete mess. I feel it's really disingenuous of the government to trumpet about, oh, we're closing the hotels and we're closing the hotels, because they're closing the hotels and then putting people into a different situation, which causes its own issues.
Yeah,
you know, so we're not actually solving the problem. We're just moving it to a different place.
Absolutely right. A lot of people moaning about you making coffee, by the way. It was a particularly long version.
Do you want me to buy you a quiet coffee machine?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Sorry, Colin.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
The background sounds like the Naked Gun. We don't mind that, you know. The thing is, the only problem is at one point last week, we've got a new studio next door. Studio 2, as it's now become known, where Kelvin Mackenzie does a show. And in fact, Layla Cunningham's doing one today, I think, isn't she?
No, next week.
Oh, is that next week? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, should I not have said that?
No, that's fine.
And then also Mark Littlewood's doing a World Cup show. But Pooch's daughter came in and made about 7 coffees. And it went on for about 10 minutes. I was going, do you mind? You know, make your own bleeding coffee, go somewhere else.
We got our own machine next door.
You got your own machine, good. But the other thing, Colin, is in the sort of, you know, in a tangential story to all of these, you know, killers and rapists being freed and, you know, migrants coming into the country. The rest of us, who are the sort of law-abiding section of society, are going to be subjected to more facial recognition cameras so that they know exactly what we're up to. It's kind of ironic to me that they don't know what the people who are being let out of prison are doing. They don't know what the migrants are doing, but they want to keep an eye on what I'm doing.
Right, mate. I'm, you know, you know me, and you know I'm not a shrinking violet when it comes to law and order, and I'm quite tough and quite firm and want things to be like that. But yeah. I might surprise you for that reason. I'm going to try and explain what my take on live facial recognition is. Okay. The way the system works is a list of wanted people who are wanted on warrant for serious offences or for breaching certain serious court orders, that is uploaded with their photographs to the computer. Now, 30 years ago, I came up with a daft scheme at a police station I worked at where we had stickers printed with about half a dozen faces of wanted people on them, and we dished them out at the briefing, and the officers stuck them in their notebooks so that they had a picture handy if while they were out on patrol, or they could see if they could spot these people. What's happening is actually just the digital equivalent of that. We're uploading pictures of wanted people. The cameras are far better at recognising people than the human eye, but actually the effect of it is exactly the same as just a human eye. It's not watching what people are doing. The images they take are compared to these pictures and then deleted. Okay. And if
that's the theory, but I don't know whether that will be the practice.
That is the practice. I can assure you that is the practice that's happening at the moment. And then what happens then is that if the software thinks it's found a match, it alerts an officer, and an officer then has to get the picture out, have a look, and think, has the machine made a decent recognition? Yeah, it could be right, and then they will intervene and stop the person. Yes. Now, what happens at that point is, it is possible these days with technology, something called live scan, where you take fingerprints digitally, that can be done in the street, that can be done at the roadside. So if that identification is a misidentification, it can be resolved there and then very quickly without that person having to be arrested and taken to a police station. There's actually no or little difference between having a police officer with pictures in his or her notebook or in their brain even, looking at people coming past, and having a machine doing it. And we've accepted this, haven't we, for cars? We've accepted automatic number plate recognition cameras that do exactly the same thing.
Well, I'm not sure about accepting is the right word. I mean, we're stuck with it. I mean, I'm not sure that's necessary. Again, you know, the problem with number plate recognition is it helps the police and local councils find people for speeding or going into a bus lane. But what it doesn't do is control the people who are driving illegally and who are driving cars that are not insured. You know, it doesn't do any of that.
No, it does. It does. The distinction there is between the fixed cameras.
So somebody drives a stolen car down a road and it gets recognised by a camera. What happens then?
There's a message will ping up on the computer in the police car.
Because if there happens to be a police car in the locality, then they go and stop the guy. But if there isn't, nothing happens.
No, if it's a fixed ANPR camera, that will send a message which will ping up on.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it won't ping up somewhere, but what's going to happen then to the guy driving the car? Nothing.
Well, the police will find it. They'll go for it. That's a call that they'll respond to straight away, because you've got.
I mean, you know as well as I do, Colin, there's not that many police cars driving around. No, and you've got a lot better chance of getting fined for going at 23 miles an hour than you have of being arrested for driving a stolen car.
Oh, yeah, absolutely
That's
true.
my point.
Absolutely true. But that's the different thing. They're not ANPR cameras. The automatic number plate recognition cameras are there as a crime-fighting device. It's so that in the same way as photos are loaded up for the facial recognition, the details from the police national computer of stolen vehicles, people who are wanted, cars that have been used in crime, they are all there. And when that hits on an automatic number plate recognition camera, then that pings a message to the police and they say there is a live activation of ANPR. There's a car on the move with somebody driving it at this location. Get yourselves there to do something about it.
But by the time they get there, I don't want to labour the point, but by the time they get there, they might have moved somewhere else. The point is, I'm told by people in the motor trade that there's about 1 million people driving around every single day in Britain in cars which are not insured. 1 million.
That's probably right.
So they're not being stopped, are they?
Some of them are, and that's the point. Is some of them?
Well, this is my point, though. But the point, the use of all of this stuff, which we were never asked about, in terms of our personal liberties and our freedoms, tends to punish those who are not doing anything wrong, or at least are not doing major crime, if you like. Right? Well, it tends to punish ordinary motorists rather than people who are recidivist criminals driving stolen cars and probably selling drugs and committing crimes.
No, it's a whole other issue. The fact that there aren't sufficient resources to deal with all the activations and these people don't get caught more often. Absolutely agree with you. But the point about the live facial recognition is that the only risk to the law-abiding citizen is the possibility there might be a misidentification, right. And that might result in them being stopped by police and it being resolved there and then on the street. Takes 3 or 4 minutes, right.
But one, it's never really been put to any kind of public vote of any kind. It's the police deciding that's what they want to do, and you may think it's a minor problem to be stopped by the police and misidentified, but I bet it's not. I bet it's a pretty unfortunate and horrible experience for people.
It could be. I take that point. I mean, I do not personally have a problem with it, but then that's me, and I understand that people might have a problem with that, and I understand that, there's a danger. People will always think with things like this that it's Big Brother, that the data's being misused, and that it really, really isn't. And all it's doing is trying to make the streets safer by trying to make people who are wanted for serious crimes get arrested more often.
Yeah, and I know that it's worked, and I know that some of that has worked, and I know they arrested some people before the Notting Hill Carnival. What about people wearing burqas? Is a question from a front side bus. What about people an awful lot of people nowadays wearing sort of balaclavas? A lot of these people on mopeds driving around with masks on. How does it work for them?
Well, they're virtually immune from it, I would guess. If they've
so they're immune from it. So if I put a balaclava on and I'm a criminal, I won't have my face recognised.
No, but then that's
a flaw in the system, then, isn't it?
It is, and so it's another. I think Sir Mark Rowley, the Met Commissioner, was saying the other day that actually we need the legislation to catch up with this method of crime fighting. And one of the things that I would certainly be supportive of is that absent a pandemic or whatever, that there is no place for face coverings in public, because we are, as a society, first we are so dependent now upon CCTV and identification for various things that it gives, it means people might try and escape justice by wearing face coverings. And secondly, from a personal point of view, I think interaction between human beings is a wonderful thing.
Well, so it becomes so it's already a two-tier system, is what you're basically admitting. So it's a two-tier system. If you want to wear a face covering, nobody's going to make you take it off.
At the moment, yes. Yeah,
which means the system's mad, isn't it? Will, what do you reckon?
You know what? I've got to come in a little bit in defence of Colin here. So one of the things Colin will remember will be super spotters. So super spotters was a unit, particularly within the Met Police, especially for football hooligans. And these were guys who were incredibly talented at remembering faces and absorbing faces, which they could then identify in a crowd. Now, that was very much an analogue solution that we had back then. Now, I know, certainly working with a few Premier League football clubs, that they use facial recognition, obviously, to try and weed out the bad ones. Now, I think, again, falling to your side, and certainly many of the chat comments which are coming up, which I've been looking at, it's a question of its application. We know it can be done, it can be used incredibly well. Like ANPR, that can create a daisy chain, a pattern of life of vehicles which may be containing miscreants that are constantly moving through certain areas, that then sets up the police to be able to be in the right position, or for that matter, the security services. If there's, for example,
it's a very big step to take, in my view. To catch a very small number of people, right? I accept that it's a good idea in theory, and if it worked well, that would be fine. But equally, Colin, and nothing personal against your point of view, but in the end, your sort of assurance that they're not going to do anything else with the information is all very well, but you don't really know that, and neither do I. As far as I know, they could be tracking my car everywhere I go and keeping a record of it, because data is what we now do. We collect data on everything, and I'm not comfortable. And Pooch and I have talked about this in the past with the government or the police or any organisation in authority keeping records on me, which I haven't consented that they can do.
No, I understand that, and I think that's if it were a case of keeping records and everything being, surveilled and kept and looked at, then I would be very sympathetic to that view too. I am sure that is not what is going on at the moment. The police have got enough problems in this country with trust and so forth at the moment. They are not at the moment going to start misusing a piece of technology which actually is going to help them very much in the fight against serious criminals.
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting super chat from Mr. Gillespie. He says, my vehicle got plate cloned in Stevenage in 2020. Years and multiple PCNs and NIPs later, not a single ANPR apprehension. I was forced to sell the car. So that's another problem, isn't it? Somebody clones your number plate, drives around in a car with your number plate. You then keep getting all sorts of penalties. And according to him, he couldn't make it stop.
Well, you can't make it stop, because if somebody else is doing it, you've got to get to them, I guess.
Right, but that's another flaw in the system, then, isn't it?
Well, going back to the facial recognition, you can't clone a face, can you? You might be able to in the film.
You say that. You say that. I mean, who knows what they can do in the future?
Yeah, I know that. But the problem with clone plates is one that's been around for a long time, and in many ways the ANPR should help with that, because what will happen is the first time he reports that he's got, that's not me, there's somebody driving around with my number plate, that would leave a marker on the system to that number plate, and so when it does, that will cause an ANPR activation when that car goes past the camera in future, and it might be him in the genuine car that it pings it, or it might actually be the miscreant as in the one with plate. So actually, there's more chance of catching somebody who clones your plates because of ANPR than otherwise.
I mean, Colin, I totally agree with many of the points Colin's making, but my biggest concern, and this is yours, Mike, is the management of that data, and it's also the retention of that data. So, for example, it's who that data is being shared with, and this, Colin, you'll know this has been going on as a massive issue between stuff which should only be controlled by police authorities, for example, but is actually being shared with councils. And then it becomes basically a financial machine for them to gather fines from you driving through zones which is a 20 mile per hour zone like most of London.
Yeah, or perhaps they're using information, for example, say that people are taking certain routes to get around paying the congestion charge or something like that. And then they'll suddenly go, oh, look, why don't we put the congestion charge area over there? Because then more people will pay. It's that kind of thing. And also, do you remember there was a scandal a few years back, wasn't there, about when you get arrested, they tend to take a DNA sample from you, take a swab, and then they're supposed to destroy that information if they then don't follow it up with a charge. And it wasn't happening. And people's DNA was being kept on a database, unbeknownst to them, without their permission, when they hadn't even been charged with a crime. So because of human nature, I guess, and because of the way things are, it can be abused, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it can be abused, but I think in terms of images on computer systems are quite sort of space hungry, aren't they? They're quite large files, particularly moving images. I think probably just as a practicality for having the system work and not falling over because the memory is full or the storage is full, that there is a need to delete the stuff that you don't need anyway. It's there and gone. It's there and gone, and it's written over again because there is so much data coming in. As you know, if you're outside the wonderful Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or something like that, and you've got 60,000 people walking past the camera, then that is going to create an awful lot of data, and you need to just look, do the comparison, delete, move on, and that is how the system is programmed to work. That's how it's meant to work. And as you can probably tell, I actually think it is and will be a really useful tool in taking dangerous people off of the streets. And that's what we all want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those rows that we continue to have, I think. But Colin, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Colin Sutton there. I think the bottom line here, as Pooch is saying, is that we didn't give our consent for it. We didn't say... Well, we were never asked. Are you happy for this to happen in the name of law and order or in the name of stopping bad guys? But clearly, so you wear a burqa, no problem. Nobody's going to recognise your face. Wear a balaclava, nobody cares. Cycle down the road, steal somebody's watch, steal somebody's phone. As long as you've got a mask on, they're not even going to know who you are.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult.
And the fact that there's no police wandering about anyway, how about you try actually putting more police on the bleeding street, and then maybe there won't be so much crime in the first place.
I agree. I think the tools like this, it's like anything. They can be used for good or they can be used for nefarious means. And I think if its nefarious means is basically revenue generation for councils, then I don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, if there's hotspots where there are constant crashes or accidents or pedestrians getting hit, absolutely it should be good to try and curb and control drivers moving in those areas. It's like
they say, for example, they put in speed cameras in places where there are accidents.
Yeah.
Now that is plainly bullshit. Sorry for saying that. There's one in my neighbourhood, right?
Right.
A 20 mile an hour camera.
Yeah.
On a road which is about as benign a road as you could ever find in the history of roads.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, very lovely...
Well, I'd want the supporting data to it. That's the thing.
There's never been an accident on that road, I can guarantee you, because there wouldn't be.
Well, it's revenue generation, and this comes back to my point.
That's what I'm saying.
What I would be interested...
But what I'm saying is, don't believe the hype, as it were, when they say, this is all about protecting you. Is it really?
Well, I think even with your DNA issue, I think I would want to put an FOI in, a Freedom of Information request, to find out what the data retention period is. Because, I mean, any decent company that holds personal private data, and DNA, you can't get more private than that, should have a data holding period, a retention period. Yeah. And how long they are permitted to hold it before they then destroy it.
Well, my understanding of the police situation is that if you are arrested and they take a swab of your DNA, as soon as they declare that you can go for free, and they're not going to charge you, no further action, that's when they destroy it.
That's when they should destroy it.
There should be no data retention beyond that point.
Of course there isn't. Right? And I know Colin. I know what Colin was saying about there being overwriting of data because there's so much of it. That's not satisfying enough. In my book, I think ultimately they've got to have a deliberate and mechanised process, which basically goes NFA, then basically it's deleted. A certain period of time, it's deleted. And that data is not held, because that's the most concerning thing, Mike. Even from me, from the security perspective, that's the most concerning thing, because ultimately also no system is going to be ultimately secure. So even if it isn't, if it's held on file, it could be got at by foreign state actors, by all sorts of people.
It could be hacked. I mean, people get hacked all the time, as we know.
One quick comment. I love this one, Mark. There we go, from Nigel Senior.
Nigel Senior, you should only wear a mask if you're robbing a bank.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, people shouldn't be wearing masks anymore. I mean, they make you take your crash helmet off if you go into a bank.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can walk down a street wearing one, and apparently the police will arrest the guy next to you because he's not wearing one.
To be honest, mate, a baseball cap is going to get you through a lot of those situations.
Is it?
Yeah.
So there you go. So there's even
I'll do a whole section on it if you like.
Yeah, we
How to defeat ANPR and facial recognition.
Well, yeah. I just find it very, I don't want to be under surveillance. I don't live in bleeding China.
Self-checkout, they take it,
Well, have you seen those places where they did it in my local co-op, which I've stopped going into now, where you're standing at the self-checkout and suddenly your face is on a camera, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going, why am I on camera?
I was thinking about that the other day.
They're not filming the guy stealing the stuff and walking out with it.
You know what I thought would be, if that was practical in terms of, you know what it's like, if you buy booze and you go to the self-checkout and then you have to get some assistant to come over and ID you, as we do, Mike. if that camera was actually to do facial recognition and to use AI to basically go, is this person old enough to buy alcohol?
Yeah.
Then fair enough. Then you don't have to wait for the assistant. What is it actually doing?
On the till.
And what exactly are they filming you for?
And how long are they keeping that data for?
And are they checking what I'm buying? And are they keep collecting that as data for some kind of marketing
It's all
exercise?
a bit insidious. And it can all link into digital ID and all sorts of things, Mike.
Exactly right.
It's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. Well, I'm not having it anyway. There we are. I think I preferred talking about P's and penetration.
The P and P.
Yeah, the P and P. Right, let's see if we can get Fiona McLeod up, shall we? Fiona.
Oh,
what?
Rat.
What's going on?
I don't know what's going on.
It's me, obviously.
No, it is Will. Just talk about P's for 2 more seconds. Go on.
So, what can I tell you about penetration,
Can you
Mike?
throw us up the poll, because we haven't done that for a while. Can we do that?
Yeah, 1 second. Oh, we had a message from Intel lady.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does she have to say?
Hold on.
What's going on?
It's these interns, Mike.
I know.
What can you do with them?
I know. Oh, here's one for you.
Yeah.
It's on the front of the Telegraph.
Yeah.
Barack Obama's given an interview to People magazine.
Brilliant.
And he said that he doesn't think that his marriage was an equal partnership.
Good morning, I'm Fiona McLeod. Britain is sweltering under a record-breaking June heatwave with temperatures hitting 36.7 degrees Celsius, smashing previous highs and triggering extreme weather alerts, school closures, rail disruptions and hosepipe bans in parts of England. In politics, the fallout from Keir Starmer's recent resignation as Prime Minister and Labour leader continues, with the UK facing its 7th PM in a decade. The knob of the North is widely tipped as a front-runner. Royal headlines: King Charles has become the first monarch to publicly disclose his tax payments, revealing £12.9 million for 2024 to 25, while Buckingham Palace confirmed he and Queen Camilla will not move into the renovated palace. I hope you are all doing fine. I'm feeling hot, hot, hot. I'm going to grab a G&T and head for the garden. See you later, alligators.
A bit early for a G&T, isn't it? I don't want to go down the same route as old Edward Hughes. Remember what happened to him? He started drinking a bit early. He's been on the naughty step for a while.
Right, we've got Natasha Hausdorff here.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, from ARC.
Okay. Oh, cool. Hang on, and that wasn't on the list, was it?
New.
This is Are they trying to just screw me up today, all of you? You're all working against me today.
You were telling me about Obama.
So let me tell you about Obama first, though, because I think this is interesting. Let me just see if I can find the Telegraph.
I'm loving the vibe of the show today. This is just brilliant fun.
So here it is. Barack Obama said his marriage to Michelle has not been an equal partnership. Speaking to People magazine, the couple spoke of the highs and lows of their relationship following divorce rumours. I don't know if it's been an equal partnership, said Mr. Obama. It's worked out for me pretty well. I've gotten more out of it than she has. For her, it's more of a mixed bag. And then Mrs. Obama said, my husband is always thinking about reflecting the light on other people. Sounds like a bit of an odd situation, that, doesn't it?
It's not what your standard husband and wife conversation would be.
No.
And what is it actually telling us? Anything of any value?
Well,
no,
I think it's, for me, that tells me that we should be discussing marriage and we should be talking about what marriage is like.
Should we?
Yeah. I know you don't like marriage. Right?
Not a fan.
You're not married at the moment?
Not at the moment.
No. Are you planning on getting married? You can feel free to answer.
Next question. No.
No?
It's not on my immediate to-do list, Mike.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Would you marry again?
You know what? I never say never.
Really?
Never say never.
I wouldn't.
Wouldn't you?
No. Absolutely not. There's no need. Anyway, Natasha Hausdorff is here.
No, she's just gone.
What?
Yeah, because we were asking around. Oh, boy.
This is ridiculous.
Oh.
Who's this?
McLeod doing something.
You sure you don't need another holiday, Pooch?
Yeah, no.
I think he does.
Oh, did you go on holiday, Mike? Have you had that holiday?
Yeah, I did. I went to Cyprus.
Really?
I'd love to talk about it.
I haven't been on holiday.
I haven't had a chance to mention it much. Deary me.
Can you tell us about Cyprus?
Cyprus was brilliant, right? Because it's got fantastic roads.
It's near enough too.
Well, do you know, it's further away than I remembered.
How long did it take you? About 2.5 hours?
No, it's 4.
What?
Yeah, and
really?
4.5
It's been a long time
back.
since I was last there.
Yeah, well, it's practically in Beirut. I mean, it's right next to Beirut.
It was 4 hours out, 4.5 hours back.
4 hours out, 4.5 hours back.
You ate well when you were there.
Well, in fact, when my son came back, because he came back a couple of days later with his mother, it was 5 hours back coming back because of the headwind.
Yeah.
You know, because
you'll remember this from going to New York. I'd often go out there and it'd take 7 hours out, and then you could come back in 5.5.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but great place. And it was very quiet because, of course, because of the war and because of the fact that the British military base is there, a lot of people aren't going.
And did you get an Airbnb or a hotel?
No, I actually, they had a villa, and I had, on this very nice kind of complex, and I just got an apartment.
Nice.
Basically, with a nice little wraparound balcony, and we had a sort of communal swimming pool, but then they had their own swimming pool, so I sort of split my time between the two places.
Nice.
It was very pleasant.
Yeah.
And cheap as well.
Was it?
Because that's the thing, you leave Britain, and everything else is cheaper. Every other country in the world practically is cheaper.
To be honest, it's not hard.
I know. How about this one, right? Talking of, and I'm going to do a meltdown on this ridiculous, I'm not going to do it now, but I mean, I'm going to do a meltdown on the ridiculousness of all these rules like facial recognition. This one, right? You'll like this. This happened in, where is it? Northamptonshire. The council said that they closed a 160-foot stretch of road, right? An A road, because of a dead deer on the side of the carriageway.
What?
Because they didn't want people driving past it, right? Council workers in charge of the removal of dead animals had been sent home during the heat wave, so they couldn't remove the animal. So they shut the road. Huh?
I'd have just run up the hard shoulder and just lobbed it into the bushes.
Oh, I didn't tell you, Pooch. Maybe this is maybe this is why it happened.
What?
I ran over a pigeon this morning.
No.
Yeah.
We've got to deal with them. They stand there, you get close, and they fly off.
Well, that's it. But this one didn't fly off.
Oh dear.
And it was I'd literally just turned out of my road, and I was turning to the new road, and I saw he was standing there. Well, he was moving though. So I was like, I'm not going to stop the car for a pigeon. So I carried on. I wasn't driving particularly quickly. And then...
So you sped up?
No, the horrible thing. Because normally, as Pooch says, they fly off.
They are rats with wings,
There was this crack though.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Was it? Crunchy.
And the car kind of little bump.
Well, how big was this pigeon?
And I looked in the rearview mirror.
How big was this pigeon?
It was not very big now.
Giant pigeon.
Anyway, I hope they're not going to close
Pancake
my road.
Pigeon now.
They're going to close the road down because they can't remove the pigeon.
Oh, FFS.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Pigeon pie?
Oh, yeah.
I've never had pigeon pie.
Have you?
No. I don't think I'd eat a pigeon from London either, by the way.
No, I don't think it's a London kind of pigeon.
Pigeon and pea pie.
Pigeon peas.
With bok choy.
Can we have the poll? Can you do that at least?
Yeah, let's get the poll. No. Can we do this, please?
Oh, yeah.
So, we've got Ralph Schoellhammer here.
Oh, we love Ralph.
But he's got a new sting.
Oh, we got a new sting for Ralph,
Get your headphones on.
Yeah,
all right.
check it.
Headphones on.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
This is Ralph Schoellhammer, and I'll be back.
That's great. That is brilliant. Ralph, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. It's horrible. Apparently my AI-generated version looks much better than I do in real life. It's very frustrating.
Terminator.
Well, next time maybe you come up with the black leather jacket on, and we'll see whether we like the real one or the AI version.
I need to get one of those. I mean, it looks great.
It does look great, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I think he does like it. You look younger as well somehow slightly. I mean, I don't wish to cast any aspersions. You know, I don't upset you either. It's all going wrong here today, by the way. Pooch, I don't know what's happening with Pooch.
The camera.
You know what it is?
There are at least 3 cameras on me.
Has Ralph been arrested?
I've worked out what it is, Pooch. Because Pooch all week has been talking to witch doctors.
Yeah.
Because of the witch doctor in America who cursed Harry Kane in the World Cup. So he's been talking. I reckon they put a spell on you.
Yeah, I reckon.
That's why he can't make anything work.
I wouldn't pay 450 quid for 10 minutes.
Yeah. We were just having a conversation here about the craziness of the rules police who have come in and sort of started to try and run everybody's lives one way or another. We've got this big facial recognition thing going on at the moment where they want to put more and more cameras into the streets, and they want to put more and more migrants into, former army barracks. So once again, punishing the kind of law-abiding people and not worrying about the people that they don't know, because you can't have a facial recognition camera on an illegal migrant because we don't know who they are.
No, I think it's very interesting, and as a reminder, I think when I forgot his first name, but when Sir Robert Peel, that's why they're called Bobbies, right? When the British police was basically invented. So they did two things. One of them was that they were supposed to wear different uniforms than the military because they explicitly wanted to avoid the impression that the government, the state is militarizing or uses military-like institutions to control its own administration. And, the reason why they didn't have guns at the beginning was because more or less there was a very high level of trust between the British people and the British government. Like you wanted to people that had an eye, that things are running smoothly, but it was never considered to be a tool of oppression. And I believe that has changed. Yes, I know the UK is not yet North Korea, it's not yet Nazi Germany, I'm aware of this. But I think you can see the tendency. The tendency is that the government no longer trusts the people, but instead of trying to regain that trust, they say, oh, we just have to monitor them more. And I find that a very, very disturbing development, which is, by the way, not just taking place in the UK.
Yes, and what's happening, say, in Austria? I mean, do you have facial recognition there, or how does that work?
Not to the same extent. I think their smaller countries have a significant advantage because of the overall composition of Austria is still significantly more rural than, for example, the UK. And, in smaller communities, those things are just not that necessary. But is it coming? And sometimes, of course, with what's going on, crime rates, particularly in the cities, there's almost a desire by the people. But once again, it's not that all of a sudden you have to surveil the entire population because the entire population did get more violent. It's because a lot of that, of course, has been imported. I mean, I'm as tired as you are, and as probably your viewers are, that so often it all points back to migration. But unfortunately, that's just the case.
Well, it is. And my concern about all of these measures to sort of so-called keep us all safe is that it's a two-tier system. And we were talking to a former police officer just before there, Colin Sutton, and I was saying, but if you're wearing a balaclava or you're wearing a mask or you're wearing a burqa, you can't be recognised. And so already, if you're not being told to take those things off, you're already immune from facial recognition.
No, and there you see, once again, the big problems with a multicultural society, because the state is being reduced to becoming an arbiter between all these different value systems. And as I always say, listen, if you live in Saudi Arabia and you want to wear a burqa, more power to you. But I don't think it should be worn in the streets of London for the very reason that you just said, because all of a sudden you have these weird debates. Well, but what about, getting a driver's license? Well, in Saudi Arabia, they don't have that problem, right? Because most women are simply not allowed to get a driver's license. So that kind of solves that problem at least a little bit. I mean, I think they have eased this slightly over the last couple of years. But you know what I mean? The reduction of the state from being an expression of the will of the people to becoming like the umpire, the arbiter between separately existing societies, I think is the complete degeneration and regression of a huge civilizational accomplishment. And I think that is very, very sad.
Yeah, I think it is absolutely ridiculous. And as you were saying, the whole kind of change of mind, if you like, of the people. I mean, we're now about to enter a new period where we're going to get a new Prime Minister who's going to be probably worse than the last Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. This guy, Andy Burnham, who's much more of a kind of probably more left-wing driven socialist than anything else, So who knows what we're going to end up with in terms of, he's already talking about reducing the crackdown on immigration. He's already talking about watering down, the deportation of people. So I mean, it's all going to be a pretty bad old year, I think, for us.
Yeah, man, I think the UK is really in a dire situation at the moment. It seems they're constantly going from bad to worst, and there seems to be no end in sight. And it's the same in Germany and other countries, but the UK is probably one of the best examples for the people really wanting change, and they are just not getting it. And it is so very frustrating in a country with such a long and truly glorious tradition of democracy like the UK. But it shows you how quickly, right, if, again, by no fault of the people, society is changing, how quickly the political system follows and how uncomfortable it gets for everybody involved. I mean, we constantly have debates and issues that we shouldn't even be having. And just to use a phrase that you used about cracking down on migration, I mean, at the end of the day, the UK would just have to enforce the laws that are already on the books. And by the way, that's true all over Europe. This is such an absurd debate. The reason why we have these issues is because states and governments are not applying the laws that are already existing. And this always makes me very suspicious. Is it because they can't do it, or is it because they don't want to do it? And I think it's probably more of the latter than of the former.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely right. And in terms of the way that that sort of the waves of immigration that were coming from, say, North Africa, Libya, into Italy, and then through sometimes coming from Turkey into Eastern Europe, and then into Germany and all that, is that still all going on? Has it changed in any way in the last year or so?
I mean, they're always pronouncing changes, but for me, it's always the comparison with the overflowing bathtub, right? So even if you turn off the faucets, that's just the first step. You still have water up to your knees in your living room. So if you say, oh, this is great, we turned off the faucet, the problem is being solved, nobody in their right mind would say, no, the problem is not solved. Right now you have the wet furniture, and you have the mold, and you have to redo your bathroom and your living room, and you have to talk to the neighbor downstairs where the water is dripping through the ceiling. You know what I mean, right? So this idea, if you just stop the flow now, the problem is solved, that is simply not true. I mean, everything we debate at the moment are problems that we have right now. So you can say, okay, it's not going to get worse, but it's a little bit like inflation. People don't want things to stay as bad as they are. They want things to get better. And this, I believe, is the big problem of politics. They don't get this. They think if we can just keep things as they are, right? If we can maintain the status quo, everything will be fine. No, it won't be, because people are dissatisfied with this very status quo.
Yeah, they are, and it's not going to get any better, particularly if the government is going to start putting us all under surveillance and monitoring everything that we do. That's another slippery slope.
And why would a government do this? Right? There's this famous Jefferson line about that people that have to fear their government live in a tyranny, and governments that fear their people, then people live in a democracy. I completely butchered the quote, but it's a similar thing. I mean, and we all have seen in recent cases, by the way, the same again in Germany and Austria, right? That all this surveillance ultimately will result in having harmless citizens being dragged into court. I mean, again, we all know that this is happening. So you then expand the social media surveillance into real life surveillance. And then, you have a guy who's putting up, a St. George's flag during Pride Month. And, the next day he has to be in court because he was violating somebody's feelings.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean this quite literally.
Well, no, I mean, Oxfordshire Council was in the High Court this week, basically fighting an individual to make sure that it was illegal to put a flag of England in England up during England's World Cup campaign. I mean, it's just insane. You just
listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. This is like out of an insane asylum.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the state is prosecuting people that want to show the official symbols and insignia of that state. I mean, this is there is no George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, you name it, author that would ever have thought of this, because every reader would have said, okay, you know what, that's too unrealistic. Nobody's going to buy this.
Right. I know. It's quite remarkable. Sorry?
Talking to prison, let's have a look at the comment.
I'm not in prison. I'm not in prison. It's a white wall, and this is not orange, this is red. I know.
I've literally just bought this on Amazon, Mike. I've just bought that.
Oh, there you go. He's bought one. Maybe I'll do a show wearing it.
Yeah.
I'll do Monday's show wearing that. Yeah. Wear it next time, and then you won't get recognised, and then they won't notice whether you're coming back or not. So listen, Ralph, great to see you.
Better than wearing a British flag, because that might get me into prison.
Imagine, I don't know what would happen if you wore a mask that was made out of a British flag.
We'll try it next time.
I don't need to.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Ralph. See you soon. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mike. See you soon.
Because there's a couple of clips I want to play, if we can do that.
Yeah.
There's a chance we can play a clip.
Can you lift the curse?
I'm going to lift the curse, right?
Okay.
Like that.
Good.
How about that? So, I want to see Keir Starmer's next job application.
Okay, hold on.
Right, who wants the first one? Here we go. Do you think that's enough in that? Sure. That's a lot, isn't it? Right. Next one up.
The Keir Starmer.
That's not an Arsenal shirt, is it? It looks like it could be, but it's not. Right. And what's the film you're seeing, do you think?
We don't know yet.
You don't? Oh, you've got your fan. That's very sensible. Now, luckily, we've got loads more of them. What are you watching film-wise? What's the film?
We're not sure. Maybe we're watching Toy Story 5. Thank you.
That's
or maybe
all right.
Maybe watching Minions.
You are watching Minions. What's your favourite film?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter? What about other people?
Star Wars.
Star Wars? Yeah, Star Wars is good. Who hasn't got one? Here we go. What's your favourite film? Ah, yeah.
Evan.
Yeah, what's your favourite film? The Terminator. You know. How useless is this
Or
bloke?
Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. How useless, though. I don't know why.
He didn't even fill up the... If I was at the cinema and I got a popcorn bucket that was half filled like that, which pretty much is a lovely analogy of his term in office, I'd be complaining.
I would.
Yeah.
But also, who's advising him? You know, somebody goes, oh, here's a good idea for you, Prime Minister, who's not going to be Prime Minister for very much longer. Why don't you resigned. You've just resigned. Why don't you go and serve up some popcorn in a cinema? I mean, why? What's the point of that?
I've no idea, mate.
And he's trying to make himself look all kind of, you know, friendly and normal.
He's trying to do the Andy
least
Burnham
normal
thing,
person
isn't he?
anybody's ever seen.
Yeah.
He's got his sleeves rolled up to show that he's right.
I love the fact that he didn't even have a name tag. They should have put Apprentice on there.
Well, I can think of a word for it, but I'm not going to say it because I'll be told.
Does it begin with W?
No, C, actually.
Oh, really?
Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars, that'd be good, wouldn't it? My favourite film. Especially the bit at the end where he gets killed. Now, here he is again. I'm sorry to do this to you, but we have Starmer alert for this one. Number 2, on leaving a legacy.
In the first 2 years of this government, we made really important progress on immigration. And, you know, one of the tests of an outgoing Prime Minister is whether you leave the country in a better state than you found it. And I am leaving it in a better state. Immigration has long been a cause for concern. On lawful migration, which when we came in 2 years ago was nearly 1 million net migration, we got that down to about a fifth of that number. So a huge reduction, over 80% reduction. On the crossings across the channel, which so many people are concerned about, understandably, we brought those numbers down as well. So the steps we've taken are beginning to pay off. And at the same time, asylum hotels are closing. Now, the last two are linked, obviously, because with less people getting across the channel, there's less that need to be housed. More work to do, but we are in a much better place than we were 2 years ago.
And more will close shortly?
Yes, that's the ambition, to close more asylum hotels, to reduce those channels.
They're literally opening more.
Blah, 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 blah.
They're literally opening. What's he talking about? They're not closing asylum hotels because there's fewer people here. They're closing them because they're moving them into barracks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which they've just announced, without telling anybody where they are,
of course,
that they're going to open 12 new asylum centres.
Yeah.
Because they're moving them out of the hotels. He's talking absolute cobblers, right? And also, yeah, why resign? Exactly right. Well, that's what Kemi Badenoch said. If everything's going so well, mate, why are you leaving then?
Yeah, when you're making some headway now.
Because, you know, the fact is things are not any better. In fact, they're much worse than when he took over. When he took over in 2024 July, the economy was in pretty good shape, actually. And
it wasn't
now
bad.
It's a basket case.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel Reeves is in the Mail today, right? Where they haven't, she hasn't worked out that it's basically, deluded Reeves still won't accept the time's up. She talks of unfinished business in her bid to save her job.
Did you see that recent interview with her where the journalist or the interviewer basically asked her if someone was going to come in and be the Chancellor, what advice would you give them? Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, we've got that.
You should show that pitch. It's a great one.
This is brilliant. I'm glad you...
What would your advice be to anyone in the future taking on the role as Chancellor?
I'm not sure if anyone wants my advice, but...
No, we don't want your advice. No, we absolutely don't want your advice. How about some advice on how to form a sentence and actually say something that's worth a fag
It was like one of the probably the easiest questions she could ever be asked.
Yeah.
And she just...
it's like, and you go into being interviewed by somebody, do you think they don't practice what questions they might be asked.
You know what? The funny thing is, I don't think they do. I don't think they actually sit down there and they think, okay, what is the who's interviewing me?
Right.
What's the kind of vibe they're going to come at me?
And what do you think they're going to ask?
What do I reckon they're going to ask me? So I can at least sound competent.
Yeah, and also, if you need to know some specifics, remember, who was it? I think it was John Healey, actually, who didn't know how many ships we had. This was before he was lionised as being the great sort of guy who resigned because he was being a good friend to the armed services. But he was asked specifically how many warships we had that were, battle ready, if you like, and he didn't know.
No.
And you think, hang on, you're the Secretary of State for Defence. Do you think they might, in the midst of the Gulf War...
Do you think you might get asked about that?
In the midst of the closing of the Straits of Hormuz and the fact that you're being asked to provide some help by the Americans, do you think somebody might ask you, how many ships are we sending?
Yes.
And maybe how many have we got?
Apart from HMS dragging its
Where is HMS Dragon now, by the way? Dragging its heels.
Dragging its heels. Probably Cyprus. Having a nice little drink up at Ayia Napa.
Very possibly, yeah. Here's another story that we haven't mentioned yet. Have you seen this, bozo Mike Tapp, one of the thickest MPs of all time?
I saw you had a go at him. Didn't you have a go at him on Twitter yesterday?
I did, yeah. Well, because Shabana Mahmood wants him sacked, right?
Yeah.
His boss wants him sacked because he wrote a piece for the Times without telling her that he was writing it. And in the piece, he said that he thought that her new kind of clampdown on the right to remain and for indefinite leave should be watered down. He basically says that if people are working in care homes, they should have less. They shouldn't have to prove the same thing as anybody else if they want to stay in the country.
Why?
So effectively, if they're working in a care home, they should be allowed to just stay here.
Yeah, of course, because there's never abuse or problems in care homes, is there? Yeah.
Migrant care workers should not have to wait longer to apply for permanent settlement. But so she's basically gone to Starmer and said, "You're going to sack this guy."
Yeah.
And he tried to get me sacked a couple of years ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because he was one of these people that he suddenly came into the sort of the front, not the front bench as such, but he's an immigration minister.
Yeah.
Because he was a creep, basically.
Yeah.
I think he's the MP for Dover. And he sort of sucked up to Starmer enough to get himself
he's just a brown-noser.
But he's a brown-noser and he's an idiot, right?
Yeah.
Completely brain dead. And he basically was calling for both me and Julie Hartley-Brewer to be fired.
Really?
From Talk, because
Brilliant.
of outrageous
That
views.
would have gone down well.
So I'm pleased to see that he's now being asked to be fired as well.
Yeah,
so
bye-bye. He can get a job at the cinema too.
He can go and serve some popcorn up.
Yeah.
He'd probably get that wrong as well, moron. But there we are. Starmer serving popcorn as all the hot dog sausages have been released.
Well done, Phil.
That is very good.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Shall we have some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
So news with Fiona McLeod, especially for Will Geddes.
Good morning, I'm Fiona McLeod. Britain is sweltering under a record-breaking June heatwave with temperatures hitting 36.7 degrees Celsius, smashing previous highs and triggering extreme weather alerts, school closures, rail disruptions and hosepipe bans in parts of England. In politics, the fallout from Keir Starmer's recent resignation as Prime Minister and Labour leader continues, with the UK facing its 7th PM in a decade. The Knob of the North is widely tipped as a front-runner. Royal headlines: King Charles has become the first monarch to publicly disclose his tax payments, revealing £12.9 million for 2024 to 25, while Buckingham Palace confirmed he and Queen Camilla will not move into the renovated palace. I hope you are all doing fine. I'm feeling hot, hot, hot. I'm going to grab a G&T and head for the garden. See you later, alligators.
Yeah, coming a bit later.
Yeah. And
Pat Cash in now.
Well, Pat Cash is here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's here.
He's here.
Ready and
I saw him coming in.
He's ready.
They wanted me to wear a headband.
Ready to serve one up.
But they couldn't find me one. So do you mind if I swap you out for
one
of the world's greatest tennis players?
I think being sacked for Pat.
Oh, brilliant!
Being sacked for Pat Cash is. I think that's a.
Always got one. I've always got. Love it.
I love it.
I can't be.
This is great.
Can't complain at being ditched for Pat.
How about that? What do you think?
Love it.
Does that work?
It works.
Does it work?
100%. Right, let's put the news on quickly.
Hugh, if you don't mind, we'll bring you back in because Jonathan's got some watches to bring us in.
Yeah.
Pat, come over. We're very informal here.
Yeah.
So, you know,
we'll have sold Pat a watch by the time he leaves.
Good to see you, man.
Good
to see you.
Good catch.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Yeah.
That was a good catch. I threw it over the line.
Yeah, I've still got, well, it's a good throw. I mean, you know, I've still got, you know, I haven't lost my reflexes yet, you know.
I can see that.
What a pleasure it is to meet you.
Thank you.
I was sure when Charlotte said to me, oh, we've got Pat Cash coming, I was like, really? That's amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Because, you know, I'm old enough to remember watching you play tennis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
Thank you, sir.
I thought to myself, you know, I'd better just read up again on exactly, you know, the era that you were in and the fact that you played McEnroe and you played Lendl and all of that. And amazing guy.
I'm impressed.
Hey, what
Wow.
a great guest. So well done to Charlotte for getting him on board. But really, it was a really lovely conversation because, of course,
he seems like a really nice guy.
He was
too.
a really smart guy, but also very switched on and very much more about, not so much, we didn't just talk about the tennis, although we talked a bit about it, but about his reaction to the whole COVID situation because he was made into a sort of bit of a pariah because he was questioning the vaccine and he was questioning, you know, the lockdowns and people were like, you know, you can't, you know, they wouldn't let him play tennis in some places, they wouldn't let him enter tournaments, he lost sponsorships over it because he was kind of standing up to the, you know, the man.
Didn't Federer have a problem getting into Australia? Was it Djokovic? That's right.
Well, Djokovic, of course, was famously kicked out of the Australian Open, wasn't he? Because it turned out he faked a test in order to get in because Australia was basically
BS,
closed.
wasn't it?
And he was saying, and I had thought this at the time as well, that Australia really, for me, had always got this reputation of being a kind of a bit of a rebel state and a bit of a kind of a anything goes type country. But in fact, it became one of the most draconian lockdowns of all time.
Australian and Kiwi friends of mine in both locations just said it was hideous. And they were, when you flew in, you had to stay in quarantine in some crappy hotel for about a week before you were allowed to actually go back into population. And friends of mine who desperately wanted to go down there.
Those meetings where families who lived in two adjoining states were only allowed to meet each other at the border of the state, and they had to stand on and this was in the outside in the open air, stand on opposite sides of a sort of a fence, because they couldn't touch each other.
I mean, it's like you know, one of the most heartbreaking memories or images I recall was Queen Elizabeth II at the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. Remember?
Wearing a mask.
Sat on her own.
Sitting on her own.
That was just heartbreaking.
Well, do you know, funny, whenever you see now, we'll see sometimes a bit of an old historic sort of clip from the House of Commons, where they're all sitting wearing masks. And it was such a weird time. And as Pat was saying to me yesterday, he was sort of getting PTSD thinking about it. Because he said it was so awful.
I think we all went a little bit mad during that. Definitely.
And I think some people have never recovered, actually.
No, I don't think some people have.
And I think there's a generation of people who were maybe sort of teenagers at that time, who didn't go to school for a couple of years, didn't really interact with many people for a couple of years, you know.
The number of cases I actually dealt with for parents of friends of mine who were parents who had their kids, because a lot of the children actually ended up, there was so much online bullying going on. And I had a number of friends of mine whose kids were getting bullied online. And the problem was, we were all being held hostage in our homes. We couldn't go out. I mean, I had my get out of jail free card, which was.
I mean, I went to work every day, which was great.
Me too. But I mean, the number of kids who were just stuck in the home and literally being deluged by hideous other children,
and a lot of the kids who were getting abused by their own parents as well. You know, kids who were kind of who had horrible.
I think it was a make or break for a lot of relationships too. I mean, I know of a lot of divorces and breakups that happened immediately after.
Well, a lot of it as well was the fact that if you're stuck with somebody all the time, I mean, humans are not meant to be doing that.
No.
You know, and of course, the other people that suffered an awful lot were people who were having affairs because they couldn't see the person they were having the affair with.
How unreasonable.
But there was a lot of that. I'm not joking. You know, I remember Rachel Johnson got caught coming out of a house of a man who nobody recognised, but I knew exactly who he was.
Oh, did you?
He was then editor of the Sunday Times. She was in London supposedly to do a radio show.
Oh, was she now?
And she was spotted coming out of his house.
Oh, the old radio show excuse.
I mean, she did do a radio show, but she also didn't just do a radio show. She did him as well, if you'll pardon the expression. Anyway, time to speak to Marilyn Halls, I think, isn't it? Marilyn, a very good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. We've been having a conversation this morning about vegetables.
Well, I was actually going to say, when I clicked on, you said, and now we're going to talk. We've been talking to the world famous best tennis player, and I thought, moi, surely not.
Are you a tennis player?
And also, I totally agree with that gentleman because with the work I do, absolutely, what went on in COVID was a nightmare. But vegetables, not a vegetable. I hope you're not, referring to me as a vegetable.
No, certainly not. No, but we've got a poll going because there's a story this morning in the Telegraph that says that there's going to be a shortage of peas coming up because apparently the hot weather has meant that they're all maturing on, I don't know, not the vine. I don't know what peas grow on a pod, I suppose.
Pods.
But they're maturing too quickly for the farmers to collect them all. So here it is. So here's the poll. The poll says peas are apparently scarce this year. And what vegetable would you miss most? Would it be peas, pak choi, kale, or fennel? And peas is winning with 84%.
Peas, because I don't like any of the others.
You don't like pak choi?
Where's asparagus?
No. Well, asparagus is a bit of a... I mean, asparagus used to be a sort of a speciality vegetable, didn't it?
Exactly.
It was one of those posh vegetables when I was a kid that you didn't really...
it was.
You only had it offered to you in restaurants. You never actually cook it at home.
That's right. Because people didn't know how to cook it. But what about broccoli? What about what's the other, spinach?
Right. Well, what's your favourite vegetable?
I peas, but I'm not bothered.
I love spinach. Yeah.
Spinach. I don't mind raw spinach. I don't like it cooked. It goes all wiggly. It wilts. It's sort of soggy. I don't like soggy vegetables.
There's a knack to doing it.
Is there? Well, I don't mind. If you can show me how to make spinach that's not soggy, that would be good. All right. Fine. Now, let's talk about migrants instead of vegetables.
Let's.
Because it turns out that there are two stories really I wanted to get your opinion on. One is that we're going to see 12 new migrant centres, basically asylum seeker centres being put together in barracks around the country. But apparently, the Labour government hasn't told anybody exactly where they're going to be. So nobody's very sure, and an awful lot of... I mean, we know where some of them are going to be. I mean, there's going to be one in Thetford, actually, which is not far from where we were last Friday. And I think there's going to be one in Sussex, near a place called Crowhurst. But basically...
no.
But they haven't told anyone, right? Meanwhile, Labour are going to free a whole load of killers and rapists out of prison. That's good, isn't it? Marvellous.
It's dreadful. I mean, I've noticed you're wearing a red tie this morning, so I just wonder... joined the other, if you're the next Keir Starmer.
No, this is not a Labour red tie. This is the same kind of red tie, perhaps, that maybe Donald Trump would wear. He likes a red tie, and he's certainly not on that side of the divide.
Going back to that, I mean, they've also got... there is a big empty prison on the Isle of Wight called Camp Hill Prison. It's big, and it's been, you've got Parkhurst, you've got Albany, but there's this one that is already there. It's already there. They could convert that one. That's one of them. But yes, if they don't know, I do think it was hilarious that Lindsay Hoyle told them all off because, but that's the nature of them, isn't it? They just do what they want to do. They go off on one, and and they've got 50,000 of them swanning around. They don't know where they are. I mean, you don't let them in the first place. That's the problem.
That would be the obvious move, wouldn't it? You just go, well, actually, thanks very much indeed, but no thanks.
I mean, it is awful that because when they said the prisons are full, we are going to release non-violent, non-threatening people. Well, that was a load of bilge, wasn't it? Because it's dreadful that people like Fiona Goddard, Sammy Woodhouse's one is coming out before he's even served half his time, let alone 2/3. And it's outrageous. I mean, it's appalling. These people don't change. They are it's ingrained in their DNA, in their so-called culture, if you want to call it that. But feral culture, they're not going to change. And I saw, I was on GB News yesterday. Sorry. Oh, I have to tell you something as well. They tried to silence me. And it was about the immigrants and the new thing about the inquiry that's finally gone on, right?
Yes.
I asked, sorry, I'm diverging a bit from what your question was, but it is relevant. I actually said, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, I'm up for that. It's brilliant. It's taken a long time. But the first person that ever brought this to light was a former MP called Anne Cryer. And
I remember Anne,
too, right?
She was the one who kicked it all off, wasn't she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's 24 years for anyone now to take it seriously. These women should never have to have done that. They should never have had to do it. But my question was yesterday, I said, okay, so without fear or favour, this is going ahead. There's going to be a statutory, it's going to be statutory. People are going to be compelled to give evidence and blah, 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 blah. So now let's fast forward. I said to when we got all the names, and there will be significant names that come out. There will be people in high places that knew and will be proved. I've got the evidence. So what are we going to do with Khan, Burnham and Starmer? Oh, my life, you'd have thought they had a hot rod stuck up their backside. And I went, well, I mean, I've got the evidence. I've got the videos. Everybody knows they knew. You can't say that. I mean, for legal reasons. I was so tempted to say, I thought you were the programme of free speech.
Yeah.
You know, but they're
this is the trouble. People have no clue what the law actually is. And they go, well, we can't say that for legal reasons. Well, why not? Actually, you can say that for legal reasons. There's nothing wrong with saying it for legal reasons. There's plenty of collaborated history, which goes all the way back to Gordon Brown's prime ministership, where he told people not to mention it.
Yeah, exactly. And when if they did say, oh, well, I'm going to take you to court, I've got the evidence. You're talking to someone that deals with this all the time. I'm not a numpty. I was stunned that they were like. So it was Charlie. No, not Charlie Peters. Charlie Peters. He came on after. And he was saying that with this investigation that's going on, they reckon that Bradford and West Yorkshire and Keighley are going to absolutely be the hugest, surpassing anything in Rotherham, Rochford or Tailford and London. Apparently it's massive. And of course, that's where Anne Cryer was. And it is massive. But it's still going on. So I said, my second question is, what are they doing about it now? Because it's going on now on an industrial scale with the immigrants coming in on the boats who are often paid by the gangs, and they get lost into the black economy and they go and work in the gangs. There's a lot of Afghans, there's a lot of Albanians that are doing it. It's more to do, I said, with the religion than. But
this is the thing. This is the thing that so few people have sort of captured and managed to sort of be convinced by. That an awful lot of people coming on these boats are not paying 4,000, 5,000 quid. They're becoming indebted to these gangs, and when they get here, they work the money off and work in drug gangs or work in prostitution or whatever it is that they do, and they become part of a sort of criminal underworld.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And they hunt in packs. So you've got, there's a lot of family connections across the UK, but it's going to take them forever. But I said, no, while you're doing all this, which is brilliant, who is doing the bit that is going to try and... It's out of control. They're never going to be able to do it because there's too many lefties. That you've got Burnham that's going to want a few more coming in and give them jobs. I mean, undocumented people. I don't see the point of us having a passport anymore because why should we bother?
Yeah. I know. It's crazy, isn't it? And meanwhile, as if that wasn't bad enough, right? Check this out. These are the actual numbers. Ministers have set out a timetable that will see 6,000 prisoners being released, right, beginning in September. First of all, it will be criminals handed sentences shorter than 18 months. They'll be the first ones to come out. But you know as well as I do, anyone that's been sent to prison has probably committed minimum 30 to 35 crimes before they got finally sent down for one. Then, coming in June of next year, people who have been handed sentences of more than 12 years will be being let out. I mean, what the hell are they thinking?
It's just a joke. It really is a joke. I mean, if they want to build the barracks, right, well, I feel sorry for Crowborough because they've already got the use of the empty barracks. But if they were to use the barracks, then they should not be allowed out of that perimeter security, whatever it is. If they kept them in there, then we wouldn't have half the problems. But allowing them out to sort of like wander around and do their nefarious deeds, like, Googling and ogling at kids in primary schools, Crowborough, I mean, there's plenty of, there's plenty of other places. There's plenty of places. And when you drive around the country and you see so much beautiful countryside, I mean, why can't they build them on a Scottish island or something where no one lives?
I know. I mean, well, that would make sense. That's why.
Camp Hill is like another Parkhurst, right? It used to be where I come from Southampton, as you know, and I know a lot about the Isle of Wight, and it's sitting there doing nothing, and it's ridiculous.
Well, Colin Sutton was on earlier this morning, and he was saying, more or less what you're saying, but people would feel better about these camps if they were locked. so that the people go into them and they don't come out every day and get bussed into town to hang about, you know?
And if they also had sort of the Home Office people processing them there, and right, you don't qualify, out you go, off street, you know, then that, you know, it's still cheaper to not have them come in the first place. But you can't have all these people. I mean, who are these 50,000 that are just swanning around and they've lost them? No, they've lost them to someone that picked them up. And as now, you won't find them because they will be absorbed into another exploitation gang where they're doing their hideous behaviour. But it just drives me mad that why can't you let out? Oh, I know. Why don't you not put people like Lucy Connolly in prison? Why don't you not put someone in prison who was just preaching gospel on a Sunday out someone on Speaker's Corner and was also arrested? You know, what's the latest thing I saw? Oh yes, in Oxfordshire. Oh, Ed Davey.
The flags.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, my plank, Ed Davey. Yeah, he went to court in Oxfordshire County Council, right, to ban the waving of any of our flags, and it happens to be up. And if you go against that law, bearing in mind we paid for this court case, right? Yeah. If you actually did that, then you're going to get a 2-year imprisonment for waving a flag, or an indefinite fine.
Well, I was describing it earlier as waving an England flag in England during England's World Cup campaign is now a crime. Well, that's the world we now live in. It's unbelievable.
It's like, it truly is a Marxist state. And it's like, you know, it's just dreadful. I don't recognise the country we're living in. I really don't.
No, I know. It's shocking. Listen, Marilyn, it's great to see you. I've got to run because we've got loads to do still. And we're running out of time, believe it or not. And by the way, we found a reason. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Will, we found a reason why everything's going wrong. Seriously.
You found it?
Yeah. Apparently we're in Mercury retrograde's shadow.
Oh.
Right?
Damn it. I'm amazed I missed that.
Mercury officially stations retrograde in just 3 days, right, on the 29th of June. We are in its intense pre-shadow phase where communication glitches, technical issues and mental fog peak.
Mental fog.
As the planet slows down. That's obviously what happened with Pooch this morning. Right? It's in Mercury retrograde. Anyway.
I'm going to be using that excuse.
You can use that all
constantly.
day. In fact, use it right up till the end of the month.
Right to the end of the month.
Yeah, you got another 3 days. Anyway, you got to go, right?
I got a scoodle do.
It's good to see you. We're going to do Flank of the Week this week, I think, aren't we?
I am, sir.
So we'll see you soon for that.
I'll see you very soon
That's
for that.
out tonight at 7 o'clock, of course. Will Geddes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
Thank
you.
Good
to see you. We've got Christian Drogan here now. We've got Bernie Spofforth here as well in the studio. She's going to be telling us about her new book, which is out today, I think it is. I think I'm right in saying. It is, of course, the Starmer's legacy will be discussed on that. The war to win back your world. Fascinating stuff. Let's talk to Christian Drogan, though, because he wants to talk to us about Starmer's legacy. Which is not much, to be fair. I mean, we've seen him, Christian, good morning to you, seen him out and about handing out popcorn to kids in the cinema, which for most of us is hopefully his next job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, I mean, the Home Office has been putting out quite a lot of sort of statistics, and we've done this well, and that sort of thing. And, you know, realistically, we've sort of, I'm looking at these statistics the Home Office has been putting out. I'm thinking, you know, that is just a mental claim. Like, how are you even claiming that? So what I've started doing, bearing in mind, you know, it's no secret that I'm a builder from Rochdale. I'm not a journalist, and you know, I'm not sort of long in the tooth in this industry. So I thought I'll do some digging on the government website.
Yeah.
And I'm still making heads or tail of all the data tables and stuff they've got. There's that much information. It's unreal. But one of their claims, and obviously this has started happening in light of you know, the demise of, or the sort of, let's just say the end of the demise started right at the beginning, didn't it, with Keir Starmer? But you know. Obviously, towards the end, I noticed they're just pumping out this, let's call it for what it is, really, propaganda, nonsense. And so one of the things they said was that the Home Office said, joint UK and France operations prevented 65% of events last month, you know, to do with crossing the Channel. Now, obviously that is it's
rubbish, right?
Terms of, yeah, it's just nonsense. I mean, events, how sort of broad term is that? Now, the bit where it sort of gets interesting for me, because I've looked at this issue so much, is that since July 2004, when Labour took office, 44,000 crossing attempts have been prevented. Now, I'm here to tell you that that is not true. That is not true. So what they are saying is not true. What comes to your mind, Mike, when I say since July 2004, 44,000 crossing attempts have been prevented? What do you envisage?
Well, I don't believe a word that these people say, because everything that comes out of Starmer's mouth, I mean, even to the point where his resignation speech was full of nonsense, where he talks about, we all know, for example, that the NHS waiting lists have not got smaller. If they've taken some names off them because people have died, or they've just decided to rearrange the appointment, that's not the same as reducing the number. They haven't made the streets safer. They haven't made the borders better. They haven't stopped the boats or smashed the gangs. They haven't done any of the things that they're claiming that they've done.
No.
And so I just, and we know, for example, we found out this week there's 60,000 illegal migrants who've come into the country who should have been deported, who are still here.
Yeah, and that's another figure that they're actually claiming as well. They're actually claiming that 60,000 people have been deported. Now, another sort of quite surprising thing that I found on that 60,000 statistic, that they're saying foreign national offenders and people and illegal migrants, they're saying 60,000 have been deported. Well, actually, quite a large proportion of that number is voluntary removals, and also a large proportion of that number is people who have flown into the country and they've arrived at the airport with insufficient documentation, and they have been sent back there and then because they've had their entry refused. So they're including in the foreign national offender and illegal migrant figure people who've turned up to the airport without a passport. So again, that's a load of nonsense. On obviously going back to the 44,000 figure, it's the craziest thing about that is what's based on that 44,000 is the fact that we are paying the French on effectively a success based basis, and the 44,000 is the French marking their own homework, and the higher marks they give themselves, the more money they get paid. It's an absolute farce. So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately, and I've been digging down into that stuff. There's just so much to go through, and realistically, I can't believe that there's not more journalists out there that are digging down.
This is the thing, and I find, you're absolutely right. I find, journalism is a dead art now. Nobody's doing what they used to do in journalism, which was actually to dig into a story and ask questions and find out. What they do now is they look on a website and go, oh, those are the figures, I'll just put those in the piece, and away you go. They don't question anything. It's the same when people like Laura Kuenssberg interview ministers, and they let them get away with saying this stuff, and they don't say, hang on a minute, that's not actually true. When Starmer's given an interview saying that he's left the country in a better state than he inherited it. No, he hasn't. It's a lot worse, actually.
There's protests across the country. If not every day, at least every week. There was been riots.
Protests across the country. There's people getting beheaded on the streets, stabbed to death. Handcuffed by police while they're lying there bleeding out. I mean, the whole place is on fire practically.
Yeah, well, I've just seen a clip. I don't know when the date was, but it seemed to be recent. But I've seen, there's a migrant that's killed another migrant with a hammer on the streets of Spain, and I don't know what date it was, but I think it was recent. And they've just sort of naturalized 500,000 illegal migrants, and what's going to happen after that is they believe that actually 1.7 it's going to end up being 1.7, not 500,000. And the videos that I've seen online, which I'm hoping to head to where I've seen these videos being taken in Spain. There's people climbing over the border from Morocco, and it's just you've never seen a flow of migrants like it. It's like we all know about it now, and they're heading there. So that's a big problem that's coming to us, in the coming years. So yeah, but I've got a bit of good news. Somebody who I've sort of touched base with, he started up his own sort of well, he's put a few songs out there, and yeah, Danny Bones. He's a patriotic artist, let's call him, and he's just got to #1 on the hip hop and rap
Oh,
charts.
really?
So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What's his name?
Kanye West, Danny Bones. So,
Danny
yeah.
Bones. We'll check it out. All right.
Yeah,
Good
have a
stuff.
look at that.
Good stuff. Christian, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. We've got to run. We've got lots to do still between now and 10 o'clock. Thanks very much indeed. Christian Drogan from Watchmen. Go check it out. Great website. Great Twitter account as well. A lot of good investigations work that he does. Probably time to do a meltdown, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Should we do a meltdown? Yeah. Because I'm not sure about... Is Annunziata supposed to be on or is she not?
No,
she is, but she's not here.
Running late.
Did you hear my explanation for why things had gone wrong earlier?
No, go on.
It's Mercury's retrograde shadow, apparently.
Mercury is retrograde anyway.
Yeah. Well, it says Mercury officially stations retrograde in just 3 days on the 29th of June. And we are currently in its intense pre-shadow phase where communication glitches, technical issues and mental fog peaks.
Wow.
Huh?
That's it.
That's what happened. So you don't have to blame yourself now. You can just blame Mercury.
No, you don't have to blame me either.
Oh, but I never blame you.
No, I don't.
You know. But I also never blame myself.
No.
Right, so time for a meltdown. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting about a bit sick. Pig sick, actually, being told what to do. I'm not very good at being told what to do. I never have been. I've always been a bit of a self-starter. I've always been somebody who prefers to be left alone to get on with my life. And I really don't need to be told to stand to the left or the right on an escalator, or to keep my feet away from the brushes, or to make sure that when I get on a tube train, I make sure that I'm suitably hydrated. I don't need to be told how to put one foot in front of the other. I don't need to be asked whether or not I would like to be, shipped in one direction or another, or whether I'd like to walk that way rather than that way. It all started during COVID, didn't it? I mean, it may have started before that, but the idea that you had to stand in a supermarket line 1 metre behind the person in front of you, and you had to wear some gloves so that you didn't contaminate yourself with COVID, or you had to wear a mask, or you had to walk slower, or you had to walk quicker, or you have to drive at 20 miles an hour. Or you have to drive at 30 miles an hour, or actually you can't drive there at all because there's a school and you can't go down that road while there's a school there, and you can only go there at certain times of the day, and you really, you can't be allowed to have any free will whatsoever. You just have to do what we tell you. That would just be easier. That's what Keir Starmer would like. That's why he's no longer the Prime Minister, thank God. He's going to cling on for a while, obviously, and he's going to keep telling us about his legacy, and he's going to keep trying to make out that he's left the country in a better state than when he inherited it, which is also untrue, okay? The bottom line for me is that the people of this country have had enough. Because, if the advice was worth having, it might even be something that people would put up with. But most of the advice is not worth having, right? We've got water companies telling us not to use their water because obviously they might run out of it. Well, how about you just produce a system and a methodology of getting the water to people so that you don't run out of it? There's not much point in waiting for the hot weather to come along and then blame everybody. We don't need to be told to put sun cream on, really, honestly. You don't need to shut the schools because it's a bit warm. You don't need to stop the trains from running. You don't need to stop hospital appointments, right? We got a story today where a road was closed up in Northamptonshire because the council said, we've sent home all the people that can remove the dead deer from the road, and so basically at the end of the day, we're going to shut the road instead. What? What on earth is going on? So can we please return to some form of sanity, right? We get told how to behave. People who commit crimes get let out of prison. We get told we have to pay our taxes. People who come here illegally get benefits. The world has kind of gone upside down, topsy-turvy crazy. And that's the problem. And I think the time has come for every single one of us, and I mean you, to just say no. We're not doing that. They want to have facial recognition cameras in every street, but it's okay if you want to wear a burqa or you want to wear a mask or you want to wear a crash helmet because we won't be able to see you. But we'll see everybody else. We'll keep tabs on everybody else. We'll be able to see where your car's going with the ANPR recognition cameras. We'll be able to track you. We'll give you some digital ID so that we know how you're spending your money, and we might even want to stop you spending it. No. Stop. Just stop. Let us live our lives. We pay enough taxes already. We don't need any more assistance. Thank you very much indeed. We don't need to be told where to stand, how to walk, when to move, when to sit down, when to kneel down, when to stand up. No. No more. Thank you very much. Coming up, we're going to be doing the last part of our Armed Forces Week. Hugh Andre's here, and we'll get from him what he's doing with us today. And of course, it's been a fantastic week to recognise the Armed Forces, which not very many people have done, I'm afraid, but we do it here. And we're going to be talking to Matty Stewart as well, who's in the British Army from 1989 to 2013 with the Queen's Regiment. So we'll find out what that's all about. Also, Bernie Spofforth is here. She's got a new book out, which I'm really looking forward to talking to her, because I've read a bit of the book. I haven't read all of it, but I am reading it as we go. And it's fascinating, and it's all about what happened to her, which was pretty unforgivable, actually, in the wake of the Southport situation. A War to Win Back Your World is published today on the 26th of June, despite the Mercury retrograde business. Shall we have some news before we talk to Annunziata?
Good morning, I'm Fiona McLeod. Britain is sweltering under a record-breaking June heatwave, with temperatures hitting 36.7 degrees Celsius, smashing previous highs and triggering extreme weather alerts, school closures, rail disruptions and hosepipe bans in parts of England. In politics, the fallout from Keir Starmer's recent resignation as Prime Minister and Labour leader continues, with the UK facing its 7th PM in a decade. The Knob of the North is widely tipped as a frontrunner. Royal headlines: King Charles has become the first monarch to publicly disclose his tax payments, revealing £12.9 million for 2024 to 25, while Buckingham Palace confirmed he and Queen Camilla will not move into the renovated palace. I hope you are all doing fine. I'm feeling hot, hot, hot. I'm going to grab a G&T and head for the garden. See you later, alligators.
Welcome back. It's 2 minutes past 9. It is the last Friday of June, Friday the 26th of June to be precise. I don't quite know where June has gone, but there we are. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Bernie Spofforth, who's here. Bernie, good to see you. Good to see you. I don't think I've ever met you, have I?
No, I don't.
Which is unusual, because we should have met before now.
We should have, absolutely.
But I'm sure we've been in similar places. This is the new book that Bernie's produced and has got out for today, A War to Win Back Your World, which is a fascinating... I've been watching some of the other interviews you did this morning, because I managed to get my hands on some copy of the book, and I started reading it last night. But I mostly didn't get beyond the original kind of arrest, the moment you were arrested. But for people who don't know, you were basically kind of swooped upon, weren't you, by the police at your home for a tweet which they alleged was misinformation. And that's the beginning of the kind of the nightmare. And inciting racial hatred. This was the beginning of the nightmare, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to... I mean, it was fascinating, because I think I don't want to sound patronising, but you've written it really well. The way that you capture the kind of just helplessness of finding yourself in a police station, and they take away everything from you, don't they? It's not just the items that they make you give up. It's your kind of... Because I've been in that situation, and you can't quite believe that you haven't got any rights, almost. You feel like, you know, what am I going to do? Who do I talk to here? So tell us, I guess, from the beginning, the story of that.
Of that arrest?
Yeah.
I think that when I look back on it now, it feels like an out-of-body experience, and I can almost see it happening to me. And I have to say that the book isn't about that. It is just in the prologue.
Yeah.
But it was completely surreal. Surreal. Half of my brain completely shut down, and the other half of my brain kind of went into this Jack Reacher mode. I must remember every single detail of this, because it's truly fascinating. But it was so horrifying that the other half of my brain had completely shut down. And, you know, as I've said before, I see lots of people saying they've been arrested and they seem so brave to me. But to me, my entire world collapsed.
Yeah.
You cannot recover in any of my industry if you've been arrested.
Yes.
And for example, a private equity company wants me to look after their business. And they go to the shareholders and they say, this is the best person to look after your business. We can grow and exit it. All they have to do is Google me.
Right.
Would you want me?
And then, I would, yeah, actually.
But most
people
businesses
wouldn't.
would say, we would prefer to be known for our product,
yes,
not our new chairman.
Because people are frightened, aren't they? People are scared into this kind of, cowering from authority. And I know that we'll get onto what the main sort of focus of the book, which is about authority, I think, and about how authority has become this overarching kind of really malevolent force, I think, in our current society, in the way that I was just talking about. I'm sick and tired of being told what I have to do all the time. Everywhere you go, there's a sign that tells, please don't abuse our staff. Well, I wasn't planning to, actually. Please don't stare at women on the tube. Well, I wasn't going to do that either. Please don't, intimidate people. It's just this ludicrous kind of continual, ordering of us around, effectively, right?
And I think basically the book is about, I've always been very interested in what's happening around.
Yeah.
And obviously during COVID, which you mentioned before, we saw how easy it was for governments to force the majority of people to do as they were told.
Yeah.
And the book is really about the loss of democracy, about power and accountability, and about how it's happening in 193 countries.
Yes.
How did that happen? How was that coordinated? And so I talk about things that other people have slammed as being conspiracy theories. They're not conspiracy theories. You know that our government, pushed by Quangos, signed us into Agenda 2030 in 2015. And that locked us even further into net zero. Without net zero and Agenda 30 working hand in hand, indivisibly, the UN calls it indivisible, across 193 countries, it will fail. And if it fails, hundreds of trillions of dollars being made by global organizations, being made by corporations, but most importantly, driving revenue into these huge international, unelected, undemocratic organizations. And so it cannot fail. So what you're seeing, and this rise of authoritarianism, is in order to underpin that. People must go along with this. If you stop believing in this, the whole thing will fail. And they can't allow it to fail. And what happens with the book is that I discuss in it and I point out where things have happened and where that came from. I'll give you a for instance. The online harms bill. Well, that was a framework that came down from the UN. We almost took it over, almost completely. In fact, the wording is almost identical in every country. But instead of that coming as full legislation with hundreds and hundreds of things you can do and you can't do, it came with a framework. That's all. And then it was given to an unelected Quango who is unaccountable, cannot be removed, for them to fill in the details as they go along. And they change it by something called statutory instrument, which is an absolute disgrace. It's totally undemocratic. And what that allows them to do is just lay some paperwork before MPs for 21 days. And if they don't read it, because they've got a million other pieces of paper to read, then it just gets swept through. You know, in that act now, the Online Harms Act, there is a little bit in there about when the technology allows it, then we'd like to be able to choose what is misinformation and what is disinformation. And my particular favourite one, what is malinformation? And malinformation, you'll like this. Malinformation is true information, but the government thinks it might be harmful.
Yes.
So you can't say that either. And now what did the government announce 2 weeks ago? Something called, they didn't actually tell you what it was called, but I'm going to, is called client-side scanning. And that means at the flick of a button, the networks or all of those phone operators can upload software onto your phone So when you type a message, if the message you are typing contains words or information the government does not want out there, your message won't go. And even worse, your message might be sent to a little government organisation who can just check on you.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It takes us back to an earlier conversation from today about facial recognition cameras and how they're rolling that out now more and more places. And I was talking to Colin Sutton about it, and I said, yeah, but it's all very well, because he comes from the sort of police perspective, saying, oh, this is really good because it helps us arrest the bad guys and all of this. And I'm like, yeah, well, up to a point. But nobody ever asked us if we wanted to have it. Nobody ever said how it's going to be used or how much the data is going to be collected or stored, or whether it's going to be tracking me walking down Oxford Street one day and then tracking me walking down Bond Street the next day. You know, I don't know what they're going to do with it. He's like, oh, no, they won't keep the data. And I'm like, really? They won't keep the data, so we just have to take your word for that.
Well, why does he think we're throwing up hundreds of data centres?
Right.
Of course they're keeping the data.
Of course they are.
But even worse than that, you said something then that's very interesting. You said, I don't mind if they're catching the bad guys.
Yeah.
Okay, who are the bad guys?
Yeah.
Because I know who the bad guys are.
No, listen, I'm not saying that, so I don't mean to say I don't mind. He said this is a good thing because it captures the bad guys. But to which I said, but look at the way, for example, the motoring systems work, where you've got millions of cars being driven around by criminals who are not insured, right? People who basically do not understand the rule of law, are not interested in it. They don't get caught. They just catch me because I've got a registered car and I get done for doing 23 miles an hour and a 20.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I see the facial recognition cameras as like. They will sort of prey on those people who are just walking down the road, but they won't stop. Again, I mean, it's not about burqas, but it's people wearing burqas, people wearing masks and crash helmets, bad people who want to disguise their faces. They're not going to be on there.
No.
So it's a waste of time.
But we will be.
But we will.
When we say the wrong thing online, or we dissent with something, or we don't want to have digital ID, all of those things will begin to creep in more and more. And I was saying this yesterday. People make me laugh because they think that a new party coming into power won't have digital ID.
Yeah.
And I say, yes, of course they will. Because our politics are so fractured at the moment. We're so believing in so many different things that if a new government comes in, let's say, it's reform, or it could be restore, it could be the monster raving loony party, it doesn't matter. But they'll get in on a set of policies. And we now know that a small minority of big troublemakers won't accept democracy. So if that new government decides to cut welfare or cut PIP for people with anxiety, well, there will be riots on the streets, protests on the streets. We've seen it before. And of course, that digital ID would be very useful to crush dissent. All governments will want it.
Yeah.
So when they tell you they're not having it, or we definitely won't use it in that way, they will.
Of course. Because why wouldn't they? Why would you have it if you weren't going to use it to the nth degree so that you could control as much information as possible? And I think that is, I guess the puzzling thing for a lot of people watching this and listening to it will be, why are they doing it? Is it generally revenue driven? Is it generally kind of driven by a sort of globalist lust for control? What's it all about?
After having done 2 years worth of research, I think it's a mix of sort of everything, because it depends whose vested interest is where. So for huge global institutions, they just believe as they've grown, they need to generate more revenue to grow more. And they kind of like being in charge, right? Because they know better than us plebs.
Right. Well, perhaps they don't want a government to get in the way, perhaps, either.
But I think it's worse than that, because what they had to do in order to, before we had this Agenda 30 thing, we did have Agenda 2020, which kind of went down like a lead balloon. No one was really interested, no one was bothered. The Agenda 30 is so different, 2030 is so different because it brought in stakeholder capitalism and it brought in the huge global organizations, and they have influence on government because they're going to invest money, but only in the things they want to invest money in. And so institutions and global corporations work together, and then governments, of course, starstruck, I guess, by some of the great big people that they're dealing with all over the world.
Oh, they are. Well,
think they're great
politicians
ideas.
love rich people, don't they? I mean, they absolutely love hanging around.
They absolutely love them.
Getting on private jets
They
and going
absolutely
to, Gestad and going to, Davos and all of that. They love all that.
But then you've got the other issue, and this is quite a complex one. I do tackle this in the book. In the West, you have population decline. You only have population growth in Africa and Southeast Asia. Now, and I do write about this extensively in the book, when you look at early modelling work by the UN, all they've done in the world, right, because they are just pen pushers, all they've done in the world is go, 8 billion units. Well, there's too many over there, and there aren't enough over here. Just like you would do in a business, where you've got an oversupply of units, you'd move it to an undersupply of units, right? Equal it all out a bit. And that is essentially what they thought we would do.
Right.
And they thought, it'll be fine, because everyone will settle down and they'll just multiculturalize together. And of course, now they're finding that we won't. They're also
and it doesn't work.
Obviously. You're also seeing this huge advance in AI, which is great, as we know, for governments, but it will make huge amounts of jobs redundant. So a lot of this control is around, well, we're going to have some really, really pretty upset populations. How are we going to manage them? And so it's a huge combination of control populations, manage dissent, huge revenue streams, in often made-up areas. I mean, you can't tell me that carbon trading is an actual productive product that you would want to buy. It's complete fresh air.
Yeah, right.
And they make trillions out of just swapping some certificates around. A huge amount of that is what's happening in net zero. It must work, and so we must pay for it, because all down the chain is an enormous ecosystem of fresh air industry.
Yeah.
That is exactly
and
what
we're seeing
doing.
it, aren't we, this week here in London, certainly, and in other parts of Britain, I suppose, as well, where it's been very hot. And you hear all these people talking about how we're going to have to get used to the heat, and we're going to have to get used to, changing the way that we live and changing the way that we deal with it. Oh, but don't mention air conditioning, because that's obviously off the agenda. You can't have that. Which is the obvious answer to it. Right, we're sitting here in a nice cool studio because we've got air conditioning, and we should all have air conditioning, but we're not allowed to.
So if you look at net zero, I would say absolutely that net zero is an instrument of an investment model. Net zero is an investment model.
Yeah.
It's not an environmental policy.
No.
And when you look at air conditioning specifically, they are quite cheap. What they want you to think is that your heat pump can provide you with cool air as well as warm air. So they don't want you all going out and buying air conditioning units. They want you,
of course,
to buy the heat pump.
Those people that I know that have got heat pumps say actually the cool air is the heat side, because it's actually not very hot. They don't work very well.
No, they don't, and I can attest to that because I have one.
Everyone I know that's
it's very
put one
embarrassing.
in.
It's very embarrassing.
Well, it first of all tells you you've got more money than sense, because it's only rich people that can afford to put them in. But the other thing about all of the nonsense about net zero is whenever I used to get politicians on my old show at Talk, and I'd say to them, what exactly happens when we get to net zero? What do you think happens? And they could never answer it, because one, they didn't really understand the concept even of what net zero was. And then they try and tell you what the concept was. And I said, no, that's what I asked you. I asked you what happens. How do our lives change? How does my life change? How does my tax affairs, how do I pay less tax? Do I pay more tax? How does it work?
Well,
they don't know. None of them know.
And because they can't tell you, what we've done in the last couple of months is we've agreed another agreement with the UN called the Global Futures Agreement. And what that says is that now government policy, so all those quangos, 11,000 people in the Cabinet Office, it's not your MP that's making decisions, right? What they have to do now they've all agreed this, is they must only make decisions for children not yet born. So they must now make planning decisions on roads for how would that affect an unborn child 20 years from now? This is literally what we are signing up to. And what I've tried to do in the book is give people information. The big thing the government doesn't want you to have actually is information. So I'm not a free speech absolutist. I'm just really not.
Yeah.
But I'm a free information absolutist because that's where conspiracy theories come from. If you don't give people all of the information, they will fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And I believe that only when people truly understand what is happening to them and truly understand how little control they now have in a representative democracy, that we can do anything about it. And do I think a new government on one election cycle can do anything about it? No, of course they can't. It's taken us 50 years to get here. Right. It might take another 20 or 25 to come out of.
Yeah.
And in that time, the societal changes will be more than you have ever seen in your entire lifetime. All I'm saying is I think you should have the right to vote for it.
Yeah, absolutely right. We had Liz Truss in here this week and we were talking about the whole kind of quangocracy and the fact that she had attempted in the very short time that she was allowed to try and sort of trim their wings.
She did,
try and get
but she can't.
them. And she was like, there were so many obstacles being put in the way. And I discovered purely by chance a few months ago, down in Sussex, I used to take my dog for a walk in these woods and they decided the car park should suddenly be paid for, right? And I suddenly thought, well, I'm just going to have a quick look into this and what is it all about? Why do you have to now pay to park in what used to be a free car park? And it turned out to be a Forestry Commission decision. It turned out it was owned by the Forestry Commission. And I started looking into that. I couldn't believe how many people they employ. I couldn't believe how much their budget was. And the fact that when you look into to what's on their website, you know, they've got the whole DEI thing over there and the net zero thing over here. And then they've got, you know, our staff increased by 54% in the last 3 years. And you can't go what? What are you doing? You're running a bunch of forests, right? You don't need hundreds of people and hundreds of millions of pounds.
No, and if you look at the Environment Agency, now I would have thought that the Environment Agency's main mission was to look after the environment in Britain, including dredging our rivers so we don't have floods, that kind of thing. No, their mission statement is to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals under Net Zero 2030. Well, you didn't vote for. Why are you paying for this?
Yeah, right. And also the measures that they then introduce in order to do that
That's right.
are also ridiculously expensive, one, and two, completely unnecessary.
And you didn't vote for it.
And you didn't vote for it, yeah.
And that's the big thing I have. So, and I say this again and again, you can vote for the Faces to Change, and they can have this great big plan about ripping out all of the quangos. I think you'll find that that is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Not only the legal cases, but because of the investment coming into the UK.
Yes.
So that huge amount of investment is only coming in because it's in something called green bonds.
Yeah.
I write all about it. And I also mentioned Liz in there and what happened to her and what would happen to a government if it came in and tried to pull back in all of these areas, and how quickly a government could collapse when it's faced with massive amounts of pulled investment in the billions and billions, and then it suddenly can't afford to pay its debt. We have mass unemployment. You know, you could topple a government quite quickly. They toppled a prime minister in the time it took for in less time than a lettuce went bad, right? So we are in an incredibly difficult situation, and the only way I believe we can win back our little bit of our world is for people to know and to start questioning, because questioning it will bring you the truth.
Yeah.
And they can't bury the truth forever.
No. And they don't like to be asked questions, and I would do it just for that reason alone. So, I've always wanted to ask questions. That's why I got into journalism. You know, and unfortunately, most journalists now have forgotten how to do that. And that's part of the problem as well, because they just don't ask the right questions.
Because they're regulated to death.
Yeah, they're not. Well, they're not really. They're just not curious enough. Because you don't have. I mean, they're more interested. I think, particularly in Westminster, they're more interested in getting invited onto the Prime Minister's plane and getting invited to the Christmas party. Than I mean, I think it's as simple as that. They don't like to be unpopular. They don't like to be told, well, the Prime Minister's not going to talk to you now because you wrote a nasty piece in The Spectator. You know, so they don't do it. You know, there's all manner of different controls. I could talk to you all day. It's fascinating stuff. How about your own life? I mean, how has your life changed? It must have been quite a shock to the system for you.
It was absolutely horrifying, absolutely, completely horrifying, and I found it very difficult to cope. I found it very difficult. The Free Speech Union were fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, to the point where I was getting phone calls saying, do you know what? We think you should speak to a counsellor, so we've got one for you. I mean, that's how detailed they were. They were really wonderful. And I lost lots of friends, business colleagues, that will never speak to me again because they don't want to be tainted with an arrest. It's such an awful, awful, awful thing. And like Lawrence Fox said to me, and says to me often, the process is the punishment.
Yeah.
And so we're 2 years later. I spent a lot of time on my own. I spent a lot of time researching because you can't get anything wrong now, right? If you've made a mistake, you can't get anything wrong. So there are hundreds of citations in the book. People can go and look at it for themselves. And what I'd really like now is for people to give that book to those people who really believe in net zero. Go and give it to them and say they are. Now, do you believe in it? I don't think you like capitalism. But you want us all to be equal. What about these people? They're not going to be equal.
Capitalism's kind of morphed as well into socialism somehow, hasn't it? We've suddenly got these big corporations.
The issue is that stakeholder capitalism, what it's done is instead of it allowing small businesses to grow and creativity to be nurtured, what it's done is put huge swathes of industry into the hands of very few. So I was saying the other day to Liam Halligan from the Telegraph, one area is seeds. 4 businesses control over 80% of the seeds on the planet. And so if I grow a new tomato seed and it's really, really brilliant, no one will buy it because I can't pass all their regulations. So you have small businesses that can't compete because they can't hit the net zero, the carbon, the reporting. It's why our fishermen struggle so much. You know, you look at these huge super trawlers dredging up our seabeds and you're scratching your head thinking, well, hold on a minute, I thought we're trying to save the planet. Well, the whole process of that is they only have to make one trip, less carbon.
Yeah.
What?
Insane.
You're destroying the fish in the ocean floor because it's only going to make one trip. And the problem is, look, Britain, we've got a welfare system, right? Look at what they've done in Africa. And in the book, I talk about it. All the places in Africa who used to fish their own fish that now have to buy it in plastic packaging and import it because their fish is being taken. And, you know, there's so much guff. There are so many lies. If we are supposed to be rolling back on fossil fuels, then why is plastic packaging set to treble by 2050? Who's making money out of that?
Well, you see, they said the other day that we might have to roll back on the plastic packaging and give up on the net zero for a bit because it's a bit more expensive than we thought it was going to be, and we want to make food cheaper for you. But they don't really mean that.
But that's not a lie. But that is a lie because all of that money isn't going into the environment. The plastic packaging is mostly going into general taxation. So all of these little bits that you think are helping your environment or you're doing the right thing, hello lefties out there, honestly, I know you believe in this stuff, but you have to understand where your money is going.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Brilliant to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. Too. I'm sorry we can't have longer, but we've got about 3 other things we have to do.
No, that's okay. So, it was lovely to come in and see you.
No, it's really good to see you. And the book, once again, I presume you can get it from all reasonable bookstores.
Amazon, Waterstones, even Guardian Online, which is funny.
Well, I'm glad they haven't tried to sort of stop it from being published.
Well, they probably don't know what it's about yet. They think it's about the Sustainable Development Goals.
Well, there you are. Very good. Excellent. Well, I wish you luck with it. I'm sure it will sell very well. And I'm certainly going to be reading it because it's fascinating. And we talk about a lot of the same things as well. So, you know, I'm very much already on that journey of not believing a word you get told by the bleeding politicians, that's for sure. I think we've got Annunziata Rees-Mogg to speak to. Okay, should we do a little bit of news first, or should we not bother? Let's not bother. Yeah, okay. Bernie, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Good luck with all of it. Annunziata Rees-Mogg is here. Very good morning to you, Annunziata.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Very well. We live in strange times, however. We're about to. You know, we find out the King doesn't want to live in Buckingham Palace. Maybe Andy Burnham would like to move in since he's the King of the North. And obviously seems to think that he has every right to become the Prime Minister of this great country of ours without anybody actually asking him to do it.
a complete coronation and a bypassing of the democratic process. We're hearing rumours by the hour about different policies he might follow and who he might hire to do them. But no person in the UK outside of one constituency of Makerfield has had any say in that.
No. And that's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, how did we sort of get to this point? Because I was told, I think it was Dean Dorris who wrote a column in the Mail saying that Burnham had tried, I think, 26 other constituencies to ask an MP to step aside for him. And, you know, that kind of single-handed gerrymandering of the system seems to me, it shouldn't be allowed to happen, it seems to me.
I was talking to a Labour advisor back in December who was telling me about people who had already said no to Burnham. Burnham has been plotting and planning this for, I think, at least back to the Labour Party conference last September. And yet he still doesn't actually have a plan. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He just wanted power. And that, I think, is very dangerous.
It really is. And we also don't really know what sort of decisions he'll make with that power, because he didn't really unveil much policy in terms of his by-election campaign. And if he doesn't have any kind of challenge whatsoever before the sort of 16th of July or whatever it is, we won't know what he wants to do either.
We won't. And we saw in his by-election campaign that he U-turned repeatedly and on big issues, you know, on our relationship with the EU. He did a 180-degree turn. On whether migrants should get benefits, he did a U-turn. On whether we should take any notice of the bond markets, which we don't actually have a choice in, but that only dawned on him halfway through his campaign. We don't know what he wants to do. We don't know. There's a story today, I think it's in the Telegraph, saying actually he's a pretty economically liberal kind of person who's going to support the economy. And then equally, you've got the opposite rumours that he's going to have Ed Miliband as Chancellor and he's going to nationalise everything and so on and so forth. We don't have a clue because there hasn't been a discussion, there hasn't been a contest, and he hasn't had to lay his cards on the table.
No, exactly right. And so how does that get sort of changed then? Because effectively, if he does get to come in when he wants to come in July, he changes the cabinet, presumably gets rid of Rachel Reeves, hopefully, although I don't know who he puts in their place. But it would all be a bit surreal, it seems to me.
It is surreal, and it is so undemocratic. There is nothing any of us can do about it except for wait and see and hope we get an election in the near future. He has already got a boost in the polls. I think the Labour Party was up 6% in the most recent one, if you take him into account as leader. That might encourage him to have an earlier election. If we look back to Gordon Brown, he got a similar level of bounce and it had vanished within 6 months. So I don't know that it'll be any different this time. But it really demonstrates the paucity of Labour MPs. They've got over 400 and they couldn't even find one to compete with a man who's had no scrutiny.
I know, incredible, isn't it, that they couldn't, amongst all of the people they've got sitting there, they couldn't find anyone who was an alternative to Starmer. And also Starmer should never have been there as long as he was either, because he was a complete disaster, wasn't he? I mean, he's still deluded in his own mind. He gave an interview yesterday in which he said, you know, he's left the country in a better state than he inherited it. Well, no, he hasn't. That's complete cobblers.
Well, Prime Minister's Question Time this week, Kemi asked the question that I think everyone wants to know. If he's done such an amazing job as he claims, why did he have to go? And he had to go because it's all a tissue of lies, that we all know exactly what's going on in this country, seemingly except for the Labour Party. And then you've got sort of Bridget Phillipson, who's saying, I'm doing so brilliantly in education. Well, except for there are 1,900 fewer teachers. 30,000 pupils have been added to state school rosters. The VAT is not bringing in money. I forget how many students suddenly had their Latin courses scrapped halfway through the year. Academies have lost their freedoms to employ better teachers, different rates, with not teacher training degrees, but experts in their fields. A lot of those freedoms and others are have gone, and they're trashing education. But she says, no, it's never been better. They just aren't telling us the truth.
And is that now the new politics? Because that seems to be the way that they've been operating since they got in. That, you know, they were going to be the government of transparency. They're not. They were going to be the government of no cronyism. They stopped that on day one when Lord Ali's story came out. You know, they were going to be the party of freedom, which they certainly have not been. They were going to create growth. They haven't done that. They were going to stop the boats, smash the gangs. I mean, everything they said they were going to do, they didn't do. But then they continue to tell us that, you know, it's like somebody smashing you in the face every day and saying, this is good for you. You feel better after this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gaslighting over and over again. And at the same time, they've done lots of things they didn't say that they were going to do, and that no one wanted them to do. And so I would very much argue we need an election when we get a new Prime Minister, that we've become a much more presidential country. The system the people, if you go back to 2019, people were voting for Boris. It didn't matter if your local MP was, you know, some nice backbencher. The votes were for Boris. And as soon as we've got that as a situation, which it de facto is, you have to have an election when the head of it changes. And by denying us that, I think Labour is doing even more harm to the very low level of trust that we have in our politicians.
Yeah, it's quite a depressing thought. So I'm not looking forward to it, I must admit. But we shall keep hammering away at them to hopefully get them to change their ways before it's too late. Annunziata, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We're running a bit late today, so I've got to run. But thank you for talking to us. Annunziata Rees-Mogg there saying that they just keep lying to us. They do. There's no other word for it, I'm afraid. They don't like to be called liars. Downing Street used to complain all the time about me calling Keir Starmer a liar, but that's what he is, you know, and everybody that you ask admits it. Anyway, there we are. It's coming up to 9:37. Time is marching on, so let us say a very good morning to the guys from We Served, Mr.
Morning,
Hugh Andre.
Good morning.
And a man that used to play rugby. He looked like a rugby player as well. Now, let me see. Matty Stewart from Scotland. Won the Calcutta Cup in 2000. 169 games you played for the Northampton Saints. 34 caps for Scotland.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it? Better than the football team, anyway.
Did a bit of soldiering as well.
Bit of soldiering as well.
I did.
Yeah, and now you run a clothing company, is that right, in Northampton?
I do. I run a small business called Workwear Northampton in Northampton, funny enough.
Yeah.
But, you know, the main reason why I'm here is to support my friend Hugh.
Yeah, Hugh, who's done a brilliant job. I don't say this often enough, actually, because he's in here a lot. You know, he probably lives here, you know, which is great. And I've been very fortunate to met Hugh some years ago. And he's made me an ambassador of We Serve, which I'm very proud of. And it's such a fantastic organisation. I don't actually say it often enough that you've done an incredible thing here.
And from the veteran community, a massive thank you, because you're shining a light on what we need.
Well, I said to Hugh this week, you know, he mentioned to me last week or a week before maybe, you know, it's Armed Forces Week's coming up. And I said, you know, if it wasn't for Hugh, I wouldn't have known that, because hardly anybody talks about it. People don't say anything about it, you know. So I'm really pleased to have been able to it's been a great week, actually. We've had a lot of different, really interesting guests, you know.
And can I just say to all the viewers and supporters out there, look, it's a team effort. It's absolutely not about me. As I always say, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know, I'm very fortunate that I've got a team of people. Yeah. You know, my career in the military was shaped by, you know, the best soldiers in the world. One sat to my left, who went on to do great things. And really, that's all I try and do, is just change the narrative around that, you know, we're assets, not victims. Yes. Yeah, of course some people need help and support. I'm damn right they're top of the list. But as a nation, you know, we want to be, you know, really embracing what our veterans can do, and in Matty's case are doing. All of our merch gets bought from Northampton workwear.
Okay.
And as you know, I'm a big believer
It's
in this.
very good, by the way, because I was the fortunate recipient of a hoodie. And it's incredible, really good quality. I'm not just saying that; it actually is. It's really good quality.
It is, and we don't want to go to a sweat factory in Asia or
China.
what have you. That's wrong. But what we should be doing is supporting our own British businesses, run by British people, and especially in this case, our veterans. And in transparency, my good friend, former colleague, brothers in arms, and much better rugby player than I, Matty here. So, and he's got a great story. So let's hear about it.
I mean, why I'm here is to encourage people to, even after the armed forces, you could start a business and succeed.
Yeah.
But my story was, Mum was pregnant at 15. We was in council house. I didn't get an education. Left school at 15. And I had to do something, so I joined the army.
Right.
And that's really where my life started.
Right.
Positively. I met all these great people like Hugh, learnt some very good values in life, and it's held me in good stead. Never played rugby growing up, and you play sport in the army Wednesday afternoon.
So did you start playing rugby in the army then?
In the army, that was it.
Literally.
That's amazing.
And
then you came an international.
They went down the line when you were a big lump.
Yeah.
You can play rugby and box.
Yeah, but the army's quite good at finding your superpower.
Yeah.
And mine was being physical.
Yeah.
And rugby was just, meant to be. I was very lucky that along the way I managed to get in the army rugby team.
Right.
It was an amateur sport then. And one of our players was Tim Rodber, an England international, captain of Northampton.
Right.
And he said, "You're coming to Northampton, buddy."
Right.
And luckily, 4 years later, we were lifting the European Cup 2000 at Twickenham.
Amazing.
They've just won the Premiership Championship with Hugh's godson playing at Tighthead Prop, believe it or not.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's amazing. And so how did you end up playing for Scotland then?
My dad's side, my surname's Stewart. My dad's side, I've got the Scottish link.
Okay.
We also had a Scottish Terrier.
Okay, that'll do. Given some of the people that you see playing for Scotland now in the rugby team, they've got that Australian, they've got South Africans, they've got the Maori guy, right?
It was all by luck, to be fair, Mike.
Yeah. I used to know Graham Henry quite well when he was in charge of Wales, because I was running the Mirror down in Wales, and they brought in a whole load of Kiwis because he was obviously from New Zealand, and we were going. Is it the grandfather rule? This one, is it? And it was, they were great.
And one of them didn't have it, and he played about 50 caps.
That's right.
Brett Sinkinson.
Yeah, I remember him. And there was a guy who was the little guy, I can't remember, but I remember talking to him once, and he put his kid into school in Newport, and he was playing for Newport, I think. And he said, "I can't get over these schools here in this country of yours." He said, because apparently they're not interested in winning. He was like,
That's crazy.
And he's like, where they come from, the sort of the All Blacks spirit. Is, you win at all costs. And Graham Henry used to say to me about the Australians, he said, the Australians are so good because they win at all costs. They don't care.
100%.
They invented that crossing thing, where it was made shortly afterwards made illegal. But in one of the World Cups, I think I remember, they would do this thing where the forwards would just run in an X formation, so you couldn't get them.
Exactly.
Right? But it wasn't illegal. And Graham Henry was like, you play against people like that, you got to take them out. You just got to kill them.
American football.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, the game now is obviously they got rid of. In my day, it was a lot more violent.
Yeah.
They've now moved it on. If you throw a punch, you're gone.
Yeah.
You've got a 6-month ban. So they've cleaned
I
the
missed
game.
that. I must say.
Well, I would have been knackered.
Although you were also boxing champion as well, right?
Yeah, but that's one of them. You're a big lad. You're boxing for the regiment, and that's how that ended up.
Right.
So, but that's where I got my fitness from.
But
the
I
army
mean,
helped me
those
with
old
discipline.
scrums where they'd all just be punching the hell out of each other.
Yeah,
the people would emerge covered in blood.
It
and
was
you've
the
got to
Wild
go,
West.
how did that happen?
And that's what the supporters love.
Yeah.
They do miss that now.
They do.
And that's why the good thing about rugby is that they do remember you, and you're always part of that community, just like the veterans community.
Yeah.
Northampton always remember our team because we were the first ones in 120 years to win a trophy.
Right.
They've now won 8.
Yeah.
So the club's moving on in an amazing position now.
And in terms of the money, I suppose it's a lot better now for people who are playing in professional rugby.
We were the guinea pigs. We were the first ones to ever get a pro contract. I had a sabbatical from the army, luckily still paid. But now there's sponsorship, there's social media. Henry Pollock is now with Matchroom.
Yeah.
So the game's going global. Money's coming back into the game now, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I was talking this morning to Pooch about the World Cup because I was watching a bit of the World Cup last night, and I think I'm sort of World Cup fatigued out because it's just too much of it.
I mean,
they've got all these games, and I was watching the Germany game last night, and I just thought, I hate the countdown, to the kick-off.
It's the scheduling. I only make it to 9:30, then I'm asleep.
The hydration,
the second half.
And also the hydration breaks, and it's like, it's all the razzmatazz and Infantino sitting there, and you just think, this is not really football. I know that we don't want to necessarily go back to the old days of the muddy pitch at Stamford Bridge and George Best running around people, but I kind of like that,
Like a bit of old school.
It's a bit, it's all a bit kind of astroturfy now, and people don't really like they don't get dirty anymore.
Polished.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
anyway, what could we do for your...
I was going to say, I think it's really interesting because what Matty's done and what I've tried to do every day this week is bring someone on who's really quite inspirational and who shows what the type of people our armed forces produce. So if you're an employer and you want someone, and I say, we've got to stop looking at a CV going, they got that qualification. Look at attitude and aptitude.
Yeah.
Because if you've got the right attitude and an aptitude to learn, which clearly, military personnel have, because once upon a time, they weren't in the military.
Right.
So they have to learn an awful lot. And Matty left and decided to start his own business, which many want to do. And I was like, think twice about that. But I mean, what have you done?
I've had a couple of obviously I had to transition from a professional sportsman back into the military.
Right.
And when I finally left the military, after coaching the army team, what's next?
Right.
So it's a hard transition because you're earning money and then suddenly
it
nothing.
is tough. Yeah.
So
and also running your own business is really difficult.
Very tough now.
Yeah, you'll never. I mean, people. There used to be a joke in America when things weren't going very well. Is how do you start a small business? We start off with a big one. And watch it shrink.
Well, I mean, I was a supplier was around my unit yesterday, and 7 businesses have gone bust this year on him.
Wow.
These are 100 million turnover business.
Yeah.
And if they get $250,000 here, $250,000 there, that's going to hurt. And that's probably 200 employees now not paying tax.
Yeah. I know, this is the nightmare, which is why I was saying earlier about Andy Burnham might be having an early election because the economy is going to get a lot worse. It looks like between now and say this time next year.
Yeah.
And his if he wants to enjoy himself and have a sort of wave of popularity, he's going to have it for about a month.
Correct.
And so that's when he maybe calls an election.
Yeah. I think we're a start-up business in the scheme of things, and Matty's really good. And I'll go to him and say, look, we need polo shirts or we need baseball caps or hoodies.
Right.
What can you do for me? This is our budget. This is all we can afford.
Yeah.
I might not be able to afford a Gucci, but I can get something from, TK Maxx.
Right.
And he's really good at that. He listens to you.
Right.
And comes up with a product. And dare I say, a product which is actually worth more
than
I'm paying for. And I just implore anyone out there: if you own a company and you want any merchandise, I mean, what do? You got the full range, but it's really good quality and it's a very fair price.
Yeah.
But even more than that, encourage people to still go into business.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But this is the veteran community now. You've got the skills, you know how to work hard, start slowly, surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with losers, you'll end up being a loser.
Yeah.
So find some role models you can work with and people will want to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what's happened to me.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world. Great to see you, great to meet you. Thank you. Thank you
for having us.
But we've got to get the bishop on. We've got our own bishop on this show.
Right. Okay.
Right. Kai Dura, his name is. He's a Welshman. I don't know if he played rugby actually.
Good, yeah.
But he's a brilliant guy.
Really
good. But Matty, it's great to see you.
And you. Thank you.
Have you got a website you want to plug?
Yeah, workwearnorthampton.co.uk.
There you go.
There we go.
Hugh, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you for your support this week.
It's been brilliant.
Really
It's
much,
been really
and all the viewers and those who've contacted We Served and asked to recruit or make donations. Seriously, from all of the We Serve team, from the veterans community, from the military, thank you. Keep the support because that's one thing we've still got the best in the world as our armed forces. We haven't got the best equipment.
No.
We haven't got the kits, but we've got the best soldiers, sailors, airmen and women.
Yeah, brilliant.
So let's keep backing them.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Well, great to see you. And you and I must have lunch soon, mustn't we? We will try and do that. Right. We've only been trying for about a year. Now, Kai Dewar, our favourite bishop, is hopefully here. There he is.
Good morning.
Kai, good morning. Are you a rugby man?
I am a rugby man. The ball is the right shape. I did play in school as well.
I thought you might have done. You're that sort of shape and size. But Matty Stewart, what a guy! I love the idea that he regrets that, that they're not allowed to punch each other anymore. I think that's brilliant.
That was my father's day of rugby playing as well. My father was a back rower at 6'2" and 18.5 stone.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Now, I'm sorry we've run a bit late this week, so I'm going to just have you go straight into your sermon, please, for all of us.
I appreciate it, Mike. My brothers and sisters, the 11th chapter of the Gospel of St. Matthew says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Those words of our Lord are amongst the gentlest ever spoken, and yet they carry within them the greatest invitation humanity has ever received. Not come to me when you've solved every problem, not come to me when you have become good enough, but simply come. There's something profoundly beautiful about that invitation because Christ knows the burdens of the human heart. He knows that beneath every smiling face, there is often a hidden sorrow. Beneath every confident voice, there may be uncertainty. Beneath every ordinary conversation, there may be grief that no one else can see, and perhaps this week more than many, we have all felt something of that. This nation seems to breathe differently this week. The sun has shone across our towns and villages, yes, and before it became too hot, children played outside for just a little longer. Gardens across the country were filled with laughter. The parks have been busy, and for a few precious days, Britain has almost remembered what it feels like to simply pause. It is remarkable what light can do. A little sunshine softens anxious hearts. A little warmth reminds us that winter never lasts forever. And perhaps there is a lesson there. Because while the weather has brightened, life itself has not suddenly become easy. Bills still arrive. Families still carry worries. Many remain anxious about the future of our country. Some are grieving loved ones. Others are quietly carrying illnesses that nobody knows about. Some listening this morning are wondering how they will even make ends meet this month. Others are wondering whether anyone would even notice if they disappeared altogether. The sunshine has not removed life's burdens. It has simply reminded us that darkness is never the whole story. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the Christian hope. For Christianity has never promised us a life without storms. It promises a Savior who walks upon the waves. Our age is constantly searching for permanent happiness in temporary things. We chase comfort, we chase success, we chase recognition. We chase the next purchase, the next holiday, the next promotion, the next distraction from our life. Yet the strange mystery of the human soul is this: we can possess everything we've ever wanted and still feel completely empty. Because the heart was never designed merely to contain pleasure. It was designed to contain God. St. Augustine of Hippo wrote so many centuries ago, our hearts are restless until they rest in thee, O Lord. And how restless our nation has become. We rush everywhere. We argue about everything. We consume endless information. We live connected to the whole world, and yet many people have never felt so alone. Noise surrounds us. Silence frightens us. Yet it is in the silence that God most often speaks. One of the great deceptions of modern life is that busyness equals purpose. Believe me, it does not. You can spend your entire life running around only to discover that you have never actually arrived. The Lord never hurried. He walked. He stopped for blind beggars. He noticed lonely widows. He blessed little children. Our blessed Lord had time. Perhaps holiness has less to do with how fast we move and more to do with who we notice along the way. Perhaps this week the Lord is inviting us to something wonderfully simple. Put the phone down for a while. Go sit in the garden. Walk beneath God's sky. Listen to the birds that neither campaign nor complain, yet are fed by their Heavenly Father. Speak to your spouse. Ring your parents. Visit an elderly neighbor. Forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. Ask forgiveness from someone you have wounded. And somewhere today, even if only for 5 quiet minutes, simply speak to God. Not with polished words, not with religious performance, simply as a child speaks to a father, because he already knows. He knows your fears before you voice them. He knows your disappointments before you confess them. He knows the questions that keep you awake at night. And yet our Lord still says, come. My brothers, my sisters, our nation undoubtedly faces serious questions. There are debates about politics, arguments about identity, concerns about our failing economy, questions about our future. And those conversations do matter. But before Britain can be renewed politically, she must first be renewed spiritually. Laws shape behavior. Culture shapes imagination. But only Christ transforms the human heart. Every lasting revival in history began not in parliament, nor in palaces, nor in universities. It began where ordinary people fell to their knees. History changes when hearts change, and hearts change when they encounter Jesus Christ. So today, wherever you're listening, in your kitchen, your car, your workplace, or perhaps lying in a hospital bed somewhere, hear once more those astonishing words of our Savior. Come to me, all. Not tomorrow, not when life is perfect. Today, bring him your weariness. Bring him your doubts. Bring him your failures. Bring him your hopes for this country and for those you love. For the same God who paints the summer sky with such splendor is still able to bring light into the darkest corners of the human soul. And may that light shine upon you this day. May it strengthen those who are weary, comfort those who are mourning, give courage to those who are afraid, grant wisdom to those entrusted with leadership, and fill each of our hearts with that peace which the world cannot manufacture and cannot take away. My brothers, my sisters, may Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit bless you, keep you, and remain with you always. Amen.
Amen, indeed. Bish, great to see you. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. I'm going to.
Well, I hope you'll enjoy the plonk of the week this week.
Well, do you know, we had to can it because we were too busy this week, so we're going to have to do it next week. We'll be a bit cooler anyway. But I did enjoy some
private tasting might be in order.
I did some private tasting yesterday afternoon in Borough Market. Thank you very much indeed. So that was all good. I'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. Bishop Kai Dewar there reporting in with his Sunday sermon on a Friday. We like to play that out as well on a Sunday, which we will do. Of course, this weekend there's going to be lots going on. I'll be doing my weekend wind-up. Again, apologies to the people on Substack who won't watch the show this morning because of an error. It was operator error by Pooch. He's admitted it, I'm afraid. But as we say, something to do with Mercury retrograde. Should we do a couple of super chats, Elena, before we go? Because it is nearly time to leave and hand over to Kelvin McKenzie. Bam Bam says, I can't beat a tin of marrow fat peas. Not sure about that. One from Simon. Thank you very much indeed, Simon, as ever. Grey Ghost says, hi, Kinsey, Mike and Will. Oh, yeah, that was Kinsey Schofield we got on as a super surprise special guest earlier on. It was brilliant. Colin talking absolute rubbish. Yeah, we did that one, actually, about a guy who had his vehicle number plate cloned. Who decides who are the bad ones? Says Sexy. Yeah, that's a good question. Is Fiona a real Scot or a fraud like that MP? I think she's actually genuinely real. Appointing Annie Burnham is like changing your shirt when you've done something in your pants. I'm not going to say that word, thank you. Super chat from LTL, Kate Kaiju for Archbishop. Yes, I would agree with that. Much better than the current Archbishop of Canterbury, who's a woman, as it turns out. Cindy Smith says, Mike, just wanted to wish you a lovely show. Thank you for being in the world. Thank you. This one from another Simon Super Chat. Thank you for that. You guys have been great this week, and we've had some amazing guests. I mean, incredible yesterday to have Pat Cash. Great guest in Liz Truss on Wednesday, of course, as well. Kinsey Schofield today was hilarious, brilliant. And Hugh Andre all week with the We Served organisation and Armed Forces Week, which has been terrific. Some really, really interesting information. And Bernie Spofforth today and her new book, which is out today as well. It's been quite remarkable. And we look forward to another fantastic week next week when we move into July. Believe it or not, I'm getting excited because my daughter's coming to visit me. She arrives from Dubai tomorrow. So I might even bring her in next week and see if we can get her to say something on the air. It's 10 o'clock, it's Friday.
Demanding Pooch's Pooch. Shall we end on that?
Demand Pooch's Pooch, let's go. Let's do it. This one's great. He's brilliant. I want one of those. That's fabulous, isn't it? Brilliant. Fantastic. We'll see you on Monday at 7 o'clock, of course. Plank of the Week coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Will Geddes is on that as well. We'll bring you that as soon as we possibly can after 7 o'clock tonight. Coming up next, though, Kelvin MacKenzie with The Kelvin MacKenzie Show.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.